welcome to episode 154 of Zapped to the Past. I am Adrian Mills. I'm joined as always by Mr. Graham Raddings. If you haven't listened before, this is a podcast where we discuss games that were released for the Commodore 64. We are using the magazine Zapped 64 as a monthly guide for the games to focus on, but we are in no way affiliated with Zapped 64 itself. This week, we start our look at July 1990 and the first batch of games reviewed in issue 63 of Zapped 64, along with what was also going on in the UK singles and albums chart that month. Graham, has the summer brought some bright rays of sunshine, or is it still bloody raining all the time?
The summer of 1990 has finally arrived. It's July, and in a month that saw Placido Domingo, Jose Carreras and Luciano Pavarotti perform for the first time as the Three Tenors, or 30 quid, at a concert in Rome, we get excited as the winged gradient-shaded owl of Psygnosis once again flaps its wings at the C64 and regurgitates a shoot-em-up game pellet with blood money. We prepare ourselves for a Jules Rimet trophyless kickabout with seemingly no teams or competition in the own goal World Cup Italia 90, and then head into the old Eastern Bloc in our confusingly small helicopter to rescue only the left-handed scientists and prevent World War III in KGB Superspy, a tournamentless football game named after the world's most famous football tournament. Yeah, that ain't good. While our angry mates head off home with their ball after a rough but legal tackle, we dive into some monstrous gridiron. Well, kind of C64 blocky gridiron, and play some crazy hand egg variations with grave yardage. We head back to the World Cup, this time to find an actual competition happening with teams and everything. In Italy 1990, get our Vaseline, spit bucket and mouth guard ready as we prep the 8-bit Tyson Fury and World Championship Boxing Manager, and then finally pop a blanket over our heads and get our spooky on in the nicely pixel-painted and odd world of Blinky's Scary School. The heat in July can often make people go crazy. Even Zsa Zsa Gabor ended up in jail in July 1990 for slapping a police officer. Maybe she was angry about the lack of World Cup in one of our games. I know someone else that was. Of course it's raining. It says it is raining. Now, who's that guy that wrote that song? I won't let the sun go down on me. Who wrote that song?
Nick Kershaw?
In other words, he summoned rain. He summoned the rain with that song, didn't he? By not letting the sun go down, he summoned the rain somehow.
Isn't that the Cult? Here Comes the Rain.
Yeah, and also the Eurythmics.
Yeah, absolutely. Bloody doom-mongers, a lot of them.
Yeah, that's what they did. They doomed us in the 90s by singing about rain in the 80s. Those fools that didn't know the rules.
It's true. You can tell they're all British because they're all singing about rain.
Weather songs.
Weather songs, yeah. Not the Weather Girls who said it was raining men. That's a different.
Still raining. It's still raining.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah, but was he American? No, who was the guy who sang Lovely Day? He's quite
Bill
nice.
Withers.
Was that Bill Withers? Was he American?
Bill Weathers. No, Bill Withers was his name, but ironically, it could have been Bill Weathers, couldn't it?
Is he American? I don't know.
I want to say yes.
Okay. Well, there you go then. See, it's sunny over there, except in the northern states where it gets a bit snowy. I don't know anything about American weather.
No, they have it all weather.
They do have
all the
all
weathers there.
Yeah,
big landmass, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But it's July. It is a new month. So, Graham, you know what that means? It's time to look at the not Timothy Dalton-inspired cover.
That's Timothy Bolton, I think you'll find.
Timothy Bolt-on. He just attached himself. You can just attach this Timothy there, put him on there. He bolts onto anything.
He is the amalgamation of several Bonds into one Bond, isn't he?
It's not Bond. It's not Bond.
No, I know that, but he's based on it's combination Bond. I think that one.
Combo Bond.
It's combo Bond, yeah, because he's got Dalton's chin. He's got a little bit of Sean Connery going on. There's a bit of Dusty in there, isn't there? There's a few of them in there.
Yeah. So, and it's not even in this magazine. It's not even in this month. So
this is doing that, right?
Secret Agent Ocean Sly Spy previewed.
Okay, so that looks gold. Give it a gold medal now, then.
Might as well, yeah. And then something about Rotox, which sounds like some kind of erectile dysfunction tablet.
In this episode, we'll see why that might be relevant as well.
Epic arcade action is probably what you get. So after you've taken some Rotox.
Oh, I've got a pain in my Rotox. It's like the rotator cuff of your nether regions, the Rotox. Painful.
What else is on this? It's a free tape, Galaxy Birds. You could win a robot giveaways with US gold.
I bet it was crap and it didn't work.
I bet it was the one from Rocky. Rocky 4.
Does it matter? It's one of the Rockies.
It's got a robot in it. It's one.
It has, yeah. It's the one that becomes Paulie's mate.
Yeah. Then this annoys me, right? Because just there, just small, it's just in the middle. It just says scoop.
Oh, it does, yeah. What's that there for?
I don't know.
What's the scoop?
Is it blood money? Is that the scoop?
I don't know.
It just says scoop. Scoop, but it's got an exclamation mark.
Well, that's the blood money picture, isn't it? Which is a bit of a rip-off because that's taken from the cover of somebody else's artwork. That's somebody else's drawing, isn't it?
Well, we'll see. Next month's magazine, is the first one not to feature an Olive Frey.
Okay.
Cover drawing.
Very interesting. Yes. Very, very. I think we'll know.
Yeah, you will. So what's on this? Galactic Felix by Elite. Did we ever play Felix by Elite? Did they never release it?
I don't. It's one of those Elite games they never released, and there's probably a reason for that.
Bloody hell! Some of the things they did release.
Exactly. I'm still intrigued by that robot with US gold. I wonder if it has a disproportionate head size, because they always do, don't they?
They are massive.
They always have massive heads.
Well, that's to fit in all that processing power. It's got to be somewhere.
This is what baffles me is you don't, just because the human body has a brain in its head, you don't have to create a robot like that.
Yeah, we do.
And then because obviously they don't have the microtransistors and the microchips that we have now. So they create disproportionate sized heads on their robots. Robbie the robot had a massive head.
He did. But well, what can you say? I think it's just sort of because we think of, I don't know, we like things with big heads.
I mean, them Caminos in that Revenge of the Sith, they've got tiny heads and they're super intelligent, but really long necks, which makes me think their brains are in their necks. Or they're like spaghetti. Or maybe
the robots.
Or could they be the Caminos? Could it be that Kneeneck was never actually a Kneeneck? He was a Camino, like a cloner. He's a cloner.
He was a Camino with a flesh outfit.
Well, exactly what. That's so gross. But this is why you liked cloning. That's why the band's called Wet, 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 because it's the same thing 3 times. He's a cloner. So
that's what he needs to be to get the flesh outfit on. He needs to be triple wet. Otherwise, he gets caught. He gets caught on all the micro bobbins.
He can shrink his neck down in stages, but he has to swallow really heavily each time. It's a horrible sound. It's like someone emptying a jug.
I don't know what this has got to do with this bloody cover.
Because it's a boring cover. It's James Bond pointing a pistol.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. But right at the bottom, though, there's an army man.
Yeah, what's he there? It's nothing to do with anything, is it?
No.
So maybe it's something to do with something in there, but what it is, I don't know.
Who knows? Anyway, it's not a particularly interesting cover, is it? His fingers are really well defined. I'll say that.
They are, and incredibly well groomed nailage on that.
Absolutely.
Like manicured tops.
That's expensive. That 00 wage has gone to. It's been spent on a fine manicurist.
All that money to make the hand really detailed, but they forgot to put any detail on the pistol, so it's like a black rubber pistol with no detail on it.
Yeah, true.
Fair enough.
I actually think it's a torch.
Or a lighter.
Yeah. What do you expect to do with that, Mr. Not Bond? Mr. Combo Bond? I expect you to die slowly by lung cancer through smoking this, and I light your cigarette. Anyway, it's rubbish. It's not. It's all right. It's better than I can draw.
Yeah, absolutely better than I can draw. But and his hair's a little bit wild as well. But it's just not great, is it? It's just a little bit. We got used to good ones again, and then it's all been taken away.
Yeah, and there's a tiny parachutist about to land on his shoulder.
Yeah. It took about wrong places to land. Right on an explosion. It's like, oh, not there. Go left or something.
Trying to desperately pull the parachute.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Right. Enough of the cover. There you go. Let's get some games. I think that's enough. We've got 7 games. We've got 7 games to get through this week.
Wow.
So, let's move on into them. I think it's about time. And Graham, it's over to you for the first one. Well, can you tell us all about how you got your blood money?
Precious blood.
This is blood money.
So, of course, this is Psygnosis, isn't it? Very posh. You can tell. Very, posh box art, very fancy logo. It's Psygnosis. This was actually released a year ago not a year ago now, but 1989 on the Amiga and 16 bits. So this is a deport. Still scored 93% though in the pages of Zapped. Got Sizzler as well.
It did.
This is developed by DMA Design. Interesting. We'll come back to DMA. We've spoke about them before, so I won't go too deeply into the DMA design, but this is actually coded by Mike Daly. He did prior to this Ballistics, if you remember Ballistics, which was actually one that he was commissioned to do.
Oh, was that gravity crossfire thing?
Yeah, exactly. He did that. Yeah. Which, is And the graphics in this are by Tony Smith. He did Risk, the Risk games. You remember that? The board game Risk version. He did that.
Oh, not Risk. Risk.
Exactly. No, not that Risk, the other Risk. And the musician is Fredrik Sagerfalk. Now, the music isn't bad on this, actually. I have to say, pretty good. But I'll caveat that by saying the title screen music was good. Okay. Mm-hmm. And the box art is Peter Andrew Jones. It's Padge again.
Good old Padge. Yeah.
He's getting around, isn't he? Getting around. It is good box art on this. So DMA design then, we've mentioned it before, so, in passing maybe a little bit, but that's DMA, it's DMA design. It's Grand Theft Auto DMA design in the very early days. Mm-hmm. This is one of, if not one of the first games proper they made, I think, it was released by DMA as DMA design, and it was obviously released on the Amiga first. I think it's safe to say this was Mike Daly's, not first game, but first proper game that he made, and I think he coded it all on the Amiga, and then I don't know if he went back, I think he did the C64 as well. Mm-hmm. But we all know where DMA design ended up, of course. So, like I said, Grand Theft Auto, up to a point anyway. And I don't know then, did they sell it to Rockstar? Did they get taken over? Did they become Rockstar? I don't know.
They became Rockstar North.
So there you go. And then the legend of Rockstar North is true. And then after that, they ate everyone sesame cake. So again, like I said, deport from the Amiga 16-bit systems. It's supposed to be a kind of, I suppose it's a follow-up of sorts to Menace in a weird way. And it's also, according to the History of DMA Design website, there's a website which is weirdly a lot of broken links and image links in it, but it is still out there, called The History of DMA, written by Mike Daly himself. We'll stick a link to that in the show notes because it is quite an interesting little historical archive, albeit that it seems to be gradually disappearing, so it's probably worth somebody archiving it quick. But he said in there that it's obviously this is also heavily inspired by Mr. Heli, which I think becomes immediately obvious with the helicopter on the first level and the way it plays and looks and operates.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just go through. Now, the documentation for this is a little bit all over the shop because I found a version of it, but there's also the Amiga version, and then the version I found was more just sort of the component parts of the game. I did find the blurb, such as it is, and it says, and I quote, "Blood Money, the ultimate arcade game." It says, "Hold it right there. Are you really ready for this one? Have you got the courage to load up the experience that makes all other games you've played seem prehistoric?" That's a bold claim, isn't it?
Very bold.
Because Blood Money is simply the best arcade game you've ever seen.
Whew.
It has staggering graphics, amazing sound effects and music, and the most gripping gameplay you've ever tackled in your life. Blood Money just leaves the competition for dead and takes you into new realms of arcade action. Okay, but it's going to be tough. From the instant you hear that driving soundtrack, you'll be plunged into a maelstrom of sheer destruction as you plunder the 4 outer planets in a kamikaze quest for golden glory. We've said this before about using the word kamikaze in quests. All right, I've said it before. I'm not going to labour the point, but just nobody wants to do them. No. The aliens in Blood Money set some vicious traps, and it will take all your skills just to survive, just to even survive. Ooh. Use your awesome firepower wisely, and you'll turn those aliens into blood money that can earn you extra weapons and equipment. And you're going to need them because there are no easy screens in Blood Money. It's a life and death struggle that demands all your tactical genius and shoot 'em up know-how before you battle through to confront the 4 planetary guardians. With its vast bitmapped graphics, superb animation, blistering sound, devilish obstacles, awesome firepower, and 1 or 2 play options, Blood Money is the greatest challenge yet faced by any games player with a passport to outer space. That's nobody then.
Do you need a passport to get into outer space?
No. It's very difficult, though. Very difficult. Even with a passport.
Hard. Yeah, it's very hard. Yeah.
Really hard. Really high up.
We should have stopped the rockets. Should we stop the boats? Stop the rockets.
Stop the rockets. Blood Money, it's here. It's in your trembling, sweaty hands. It's ready and waiting for you. But are you sure you're ready for Blood Money? Are you, Adrian? Are you?
No. My hands are normally sweaty and trembling, but not through that.
So this game takes place across 4 levels. It says and I quote, the game, Blood Money takes you on an alien safari across the untamed horizons of 4 hostile planets. The organisers charge varying rates of admission to each planet, but you've devised a unique way of rewarding successful hunters. I fear a strange twist in the game logic. And then it says, the price is right. You're right. Planet 1, only 100 credits to sample the delights of Gibber. The most hostile planet. Gibber. Where the hell are you? Gibber. I am definitely putting it in that bit because that planet is Gibba. That's the planet of Gibber.
Gibber.
The most hostile planet of the NUM system. NUM. That's NUMM. Helicopter gunship is laid on, but watch out for the floor and ceiling gun emplacements. All right, will do, mate. All right, thanks for that. Planet 2, 200 credits. Gets you a valid hunter's license for Grown. That's Grone. It's worth every one. Transport on Grown is by submarine, and this strange undersea world contains a multitude of colourful and frightening opponents. They hadn't thought of them at that point, had they?
No.
Planet 3, 300 credits. Name your planets, maybe better than you're doing. And you can land on the terrifying terrain of Shriek. This is a very superior planet indeed. Travellers are provided with the latest impersonal jetpack systems. Lots of plunder can be taken here, but you'll need the weapons it can buy. The natives are extremely unfriendly. Extremely. Well, on Shriek, it's not a great place to be.
They're probably not. They just shriek at you. That's how they talk. You just think they're unfriendly.
It is a shrieky place, so let's not go there. And then Planet 4, the final one. Yes, everyone's heard of Snuff. Have you heard of Snuff?
Unfortunately.
I mean, these planets, Gibber, Groan, Shriek, and Snuff. All right, okay, fair enough. The ticket costs 400 credits, but we, at ASP, whatever that is all of a sudden, believe that this planet offers the ultimate in blasting and plundering. We should add that no one has yet returned from this particular trip. It was a kamikaze mission, wasn't it? That nobody will ever return from them. That's the whole point, isn't it?
Or else they failed their mission.
So what we said, no, you can't write contracts like that, can you? Anyway, your joystick is controlled by your craft is controlled by joystick. Of course, we hope you've chosen an ASP Super Slayer Mark IV, but if not, no matter. Though perhaps we should point out that the Super Slayer is guaranteed to prolong active life by at least a minute, and that without it, you don't stand a dog's chance. Well, dogs wouldn't stand any chance, I wouldn't thought.
Rough. Sounds rough.
I've tried to get my dog to play these games. Crap, they're really rubbish at them, and I thought they'd be better.
Slobbered on the joystick.
It's just the buttons don't work. I'm like, look, I don't care for your weak explanations. Anyway, blah blah blah. Naturally, we realise that the excitement may prove too much for some of you. That's the reason we've made provision for you to be accompanied by a sucker. Friend of your choice. Ensure that he has adequate life insurance and that he plugs his stick into port 1. Ooh. Some of the scenes you may encounter are slightly disturbing. In fact, you may pass out momentarily with terror. If you do, try your best to hit the Commodore button first. That pauses the action. When you've recovered your nerve, hit fire to continue. Everyone likes a bit of music to murder by. F3 on the player selection screen brings you the rousing national anthems of the Tone Terrorist of Delat 5. Those of you who really savour the action can use F3 to toggle between the music and the sound effects picked up by the microphone mounted on your ship, or spacesuit by those lucky players who savour the landscape of Shriek. Finally, in case of emergency, you may press the restore key to abort the mission. You'll want to do that. And then I'm not going to go. There's a load of weapons and a load of other stuff, checklists and blah, blah, blah. I'll cover that in a minute, but not that. The reason I went through all of that is because I felt that it's kind of a bit over grandiose for this game.
Yeah,
there's a lot of hard sell there, Yes, you can fire weapons like the Clean Heels Super Drive or the Norton Thunder Through or Dr. Martin's Aerosol. Yeah, you've got them. Okay. Does it help you? No, it doesn't. It doesn't help you well. The game then, okay. So like I said, deports. Deports come and deports go, don't they? There's nice touches to this game, but it is a very much Mr. Helly inspired thing, I thought. Even if you go through different planets, the principal game here is Mr. Helly. And it's not as good as Mr. Helly, I didn't think. And I don't remember whether we really liked that. Did we like that a lot? I think it was all right, wasn't it, Mr. Helly?
We did quite like Mr. Helly, yeah.
Yeah. A multi-directional or at least multi-traversable scrolling shooter. Come collect them up, I suppose, really what this is, isn't it? Mm-hmm. There's some nice graphics here and there. Nice music, I suppose, now and again. No doubt that this has some of the classic Psygnosis touch, doesn't it? That little bit of production touch that they tended to lean into these things. And over time, you realise that it's all they ever did. And the games underneath were mostly crap and difficult. But we'll come to that. The game begins with nice, clearly downported loading screens. It's just like, so no one drew them. They were just like, get the Amiga one, run it through the scrambulator and it pumped out a Commodore 64-ish looking thing. Oh, that'll do.
Scrambulator.
So, clearly downported loading screens. Good music, I thought, on that. Bit of the Amiga polish maybe there, a little bit. It leans on the Amiga version for that. Gives it a bit of production weight. Lots of loading, though. It's quick loading, but it's loading as well. So
yeah.
And I don't know, anything in these games that delays you getting into them makes me a little bit uneasy. Every time I have to pause and look at something that's nothing to do with the game, I'm like, you're delaying the inevitable here. Why? No, I'm a bit of a, don't delay my gratification much longer. I can't hold out. But the loader was quick enough so you could sort of, get through. And this crack that we played, sorry guys, we couldn't buy the original for this. The crack that we played did have bug fixes in it as well, I noted. So this was a plus super plus version. So there clearly were bugs in it that needed fixing. It wasn't specific about they were. It doesn't really matter, actually. Once you get through all of that, there's still bugs and things in it. But what they were, I don't know. Anyway, from what I've read, there was some issues with the way that the loader worked, either the tape or disc loader for this. And so Psygnosis actually took away the proprietary one that Mike Daly had created for this, and they put a cyberload on. They put one and that's in the history of DMA. You can go read all that if you want. Anyway, so once the loading has progressed to the point when you're at the title screen, you get this quite nice title screen looking thing. Now, it's a lot of text with colours on. And it's the first time I've ever seen a menu system for a game have a ability to speed up the title screen.
Patient or impatient.
Yeah, because if you're on the patient mode, it's like takes time to write blood money in this kind of kind of effect. If you can't be asked with that, which you won't want to be asked with it because you just want to, why is this even there? Really, is the question you ask yourself. But if you press impatient, it just speeds it up, which you'll want to do. I mean, the music's quite good. And by the way, if you leave it, you don't get a chance to listen to the music, even though it is quite good, because the game starts and it goes into a weird demo mode. And the demo mode, by the way, is really stupid. I don't know if you've watched the demo mode for a bit.
I did not, no.
So it doesn't shoot. The ship just floats through the levels. It's really weird. It's unnerving, actually. Anyway, so like I said, the title music on the beginning is good, and the presentation, albeit that it's just text, we've come to quite expect this on a few 64 games. It's a bit of a trend at the minute. It's kind of big, bright, lots of text on the screen kind of thing. It kind of works.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps the options simple. Yes, there's an option to change the menu speed, which is the stupidest option we've had in a while, I think. But the other ones are music on, off, 1 player, 2 player. Now, there's the classic Miyagi, press number 3 to have the music on, music off, and then you got 1 player, 2 player. No, it's nothing strange. Now, I didn't play it in 2 player. I don't know what it's like in 2 player. I imagine it's probably doubly as boring.
Probably.
So, and then, it's like I said, try and avoid the autoplay if I were you. Just try and get into the game. So when you do press fire and the game starts, there's a bit more loading and then the game will begin. You'll be presented with, Mr. Heli and the first level.
Yeah.
You've got a helicopter. The UI sits at the bottom. The main, I would say, 90% of the screen is the game, and the UI sits right at the bottom there. Music in the game is okay, but it very quickly becomes annoying. And the sound effects aren't that great either. So it's a bit of, I don't know, is it the lesser of the two evils? I don't know. I had the music on and I gradually found myself not wanting to listen to it anymore. But I'll tell you why that is in a moment. But the UI sits at the bottom with your lives, the money, score, that kind of thing, usual. And then the game window scrolls. This is a auto-scrolling game. Now, Mr. Heli was auto-scrolling, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, most shooters are.
So it's kind of slow scrolls you. So the screen itself scrolls from left to right. You're actually a mini sprite, and you're traversing the screen scrolls right to left. You're going left to right. You control the Mr. Helicopter, not Mr. Heli, the helicopter that looks like Mr. Heli, Mr. Holly. You control it with your joystick, up, down, left, right, usual shoot. But if you press left, the actual helicopter moves left. It flips. So you're shooting left, which is okay, but annoying at certain times. There's times when you want things, times when you want it to do that, and there's times when you really don't. And the idea of this is that your enemies will, descend upon you, as does the background as it scrolls in, and you'll be shooting at things. And when you shoot things, they drop coins. I'll come back to the problem with that, but the idea is that you're meant to collect those coins and gather up enough, coin to go and visit the shop, to go and buy some more armament and that. That comes with some issues, which I'll come back to those. But so principally, the screen scrolls, I say it scrolls right to left, but it actually scrolls for a while, and then it will actually go up, a bit like Mr. Heli. So you're actually sort of exploring the zone you're in, the planet you're in. This planet must be completely constructed inside of 2 pipes of 2 layers or something, because you're constantly inside of something. But either way, that's what you've got to do, navigate the sort of terrain, float away, find the shops that are wrong way, shoot the enemies, collect the money, you'll upgrade your ship, blast even more. And then eventually, after what is ages, you'll get to a boss, a flickery, nightmare-y, crappy boss, which you'll need to shoot. When you shoot that, obviously, you go into level 2. I'll talk about that in a minute. So as you're traversing around, like I said, you shoot things. And when you do get to the shop, and they're noted by the word shop on them, you can't really miss them. They're always in obscure, hard-to-reach places. And bear in mind that traversing the landscape in this, I think you've got an energy quotient, haven't you? So you can afford to sort of touch a little bit of the landscape, like Mr. Heli, one might say. But if you do it too much, death will overtake you. So you've got to try and not do that, not hit things and not run into things and shoot as much as you can. When you collect the coins of varying value that the enemies drop, that you will accumulate those. When you get to the shop, if you can make your way to it, then you go to the shop, which is actually 9 icons in a row, sort of in 3 rows of 3.
Yeah.
One of those is an exit. So you've got essentially 8 upgrades. Each one has a number value of dollars associated to it. And you essentially buy the upgrades for your ship. And there's things like triple shot, angled shot, shield. You can get an extra life even if you want there. There's a mysterious one that looks like a dagger. Not sure what that would do. I think it drops bombs straight down. There's one that sort of shoot bombs and double. And then there was one that I could never get, which was this, what looked like a I don't know, like an arrow shooting to the right. It's $250. No idea what that does.
And there's the Ankh. It's the Ankh, the extra lives.
The Ankh is more lives, I think. Although, again, it's unclear because I'd never accumulated that many dollars to be able to really afford those things. And the game plays out like Mr. Helly did. So you navigate these landscapes, but slowly, and you'll avoid the various enemies. Now, there are some enemies that are stuck to the sort of ceilings or the floors of the base, I guess, that you're going into. I don't know, or the landscape you're traversing. And you can shoot them off there. Some of them will shoot bullets at you now and again. There's these spinny things. Sometimes they self-spin. Sometimes you have to shoot the center of them to spin. Mm-hmm. Okay. But here, the graphics, I would say the graphics are a bit bitty. They're not as well shaded or anything like Armalite. Nothing like that. They're not terrible, but they're just, some of them lack the polish that you'd expect to see in a Psygnosis game. Now, the graphics are, like I said, there's quite a bit going on, but I don't know. The spinny blob things, there's like a bigger blob in the middle and 2 blobs connected to it, and they spin around when you go down. They reminded me of the thing that you get in Jetpack Joyride. That has a few things like that in it. But I don't know. They're just not very well. They're kind of just blobs with white outlines on them that spin. They're not great. And they're not that well animated. But anyway, so the idea of those is you've got to try and actually, you can't blow those up. You've got to navigate sort of through them. That's actually very challenging in a game like this. And more often than not in this game, you don't die because you got shot. You die because you crashed into something or you hit too many things. Now, when you do that, you lose all of your power-ups there and then. And I think that's what I would call a classic mistake in this game, like classic design mistake. It's a fool's errand. I don't think it leaves you powerless at times when you can't afford to be powerless, and you don't stand a chance because you can't. Like in most of these shoot-up games, when you lose your power-ups, well, let's say most of the good ones, you'll at least have an opportunity for a microsecond even to regain your power, even if it's not all of it. Sometimes you can just scoot around, pick up a few extra powers you've dropped. That's normally the way these games work. This one, though, you die, you start again, but you've got literally, one shot, and you don't stand a chance. If later in the game, you don't stand a chance. No way. Not unless you happen to be right near a shop, and even then, you won't have had enough accumulated dollars to be able to buy anything. So, so really, does that mean that the game's expecting you to complete everything in kind of one run? I don't think that's possible, and I think it's unfair. And it's also unfair that your bullets don't shoot very far. Now, this is a problem in this game because this is reliant on you shooting enemies and collecting coins, and the coins drop instantly from those enemies. Now, the problem is, in order for that to happen, you can't shoot them from far enough away to shoot them and then swoop in because you're not either quick enough and your bullets don't go far enough. So you've got to shoot more or less everything from point blank range in this game. Problem there is that most things happen in clusters. So when you do shoot these things, you might shoot 1 or 2 of them and then they'll drop the coins. But can you get in there and swoop and pick those up before you get hit by another enemy or before you hit something else? No. So you end up sort of flying into trying to scoop up coins, and maybe you'll get them, but chances are you're probably going to end up dead. And I think you only get a few lives. I think 5 lives in total. So yeah. You're going to burn through those lives pretty quickly. And I'll tell you the other thing that is a play on that. But if you do make it through all the way through that, and God knows you might want to, you'll end up with the end boss. The end bosses are quite big, but flickery and jerky and really jerky movement. They're not very well thought of. This isn't Salamander or anything like this. Isn't a Armalite. This isn't even Catechus. As much as they've tried to create a kind of a big, bold boss to fight, it comes at flicky, jerky intervals. It's not very challenging, particularly, I wouldn't say. It's just annoying. And it speaks to the averageness of this game in almost every way that it can. It's just average on the C64. This was never really what it was designed for. So when you do get through that, you'll go to level 2, and depressingly, as much as it's a little bit more colourful and there's a little bit more shading around it, and you are in a submarine, unfortunately, it's the same game all over again. Same thing happens again. This time because you're floating around, you've got different enemies. But the principle of the game is float around, make your way around what is essentially a maze, don't die, and for God's sake, don't lose all your upgrades because you will be dead in mere seconds. So there's some nice touches to this, but underneath all of that, there's a pretty dull game for some really silly reasons that could have been easily mitigated. The action's very sporadic, and the graphics, like I said, vary very much from a bitty not very pleasant on the eye to okay, but passable, but nothing's really going to make you go, wow. And there's a game later on that we'll play in this episode that really did make me go, wow, that's looking quite amazing. The music gradually becomes so annoying that you'll want to literally drill holes in your head, because it ties into the other problem with this game, and that is that the levels go on forever and ever and ever. It is a long, boring game. Each planet might be only 4 of them, but they are boring and they go on forever. I can tell you that music that is it's about 45-second loop, maybe slightly less. I must have heard that loop so many times. The levels must be 10 minutes long. And remember that in a game that's reliant on this kind of thing. So yeah, okay, fine, have big levels. But if you've got big levels, you need a lot go. And it scrolls as slowly as this one does, and it is a really slow scrolling game. Fine, okay, I get it. But if that's going to be the thing, then it needs to have a lot of action going on, lots of bullets flying around, lots of movement, so you feel like you're moving around a bit. So there's stuff to do. If large percentages of this game are just floating on a black void, avoiding stuff, not very exciting. And then you'll get the weapons and stuff, and you think, okay, yeah, stand a chance. And then you make one mistake and you're dead, and you lose all your weapons and all the money that you accumulate to get them with. That's a really stupid thing to do. It's punitive in silly ways. So the levels feel endless. The music makes then, because it's looped so often, makes you feel like you're trapped in a vortex. And then there's not enough action in the game that's rewarding enough for you to want to continue, because you think, well, even if I get to level 3, one mistake and I've lost it all. And you can't get it back so easily. So I don't know. There's parts of this I like, there's parts of it I didn't. I don't like the fact that all of those mistakes make it feel like it's one big, long, dreary shoot 'em up, I guess. But is it? I don't know. I found myself not really enjoying myself more often than not with this. Movement's very pedestrian, like I said. Scrolling is slow, smooth, but slow. Leaves the game wanting all the time, though. You either need slow scrolling, lots of things, or you need background details, or you need smaller levels, and so you can just explore them a bit, maybe up the pace a little bit. Indeed, even then, it makes everything feel like it's a drag. And then when you lose the upgrades as well, it's just the final icing on the cake for me. You won't last long in this game, even if you wanted to. Like I said, that presentation has the nice colory spin of a Psygnosis game, and the levels are large if that's your thing. But I don't know. The controls felt standard as for this kind of thing, but I don't know. The bullets shooting that short distance, the fact that I kept dying trying to get the very upgrade thing and then losing the upgrades within seconds, nah. The risk-reward system was shot to hell for this game, and it made it feel too punitive and it's too slow. It meanders. The music meanders. Nobody wants the word meander when you're talking, and that wasn't anything they mentioned in that exciting blurb that they know. This was meant to be the most amazing arcade shoot-'em up ever, remember? It's hardly that. No. It doesn't feel very exciting. The Amiga version's a lot better than this, it has to be said, but it suffers from the same problems. It's just, it's up the ante on the graphics. I don't know. Maybe there's a bit of passion here, and it's got in its early DMA, so there's that. And I admire that they took to at least creating a competent, and I say competent, not exciting, but competent version of the C64. They didn't have to do that. They're providing support in this way in the very late cycle of the C64, and they continue to do that, Psygnosis, for a little while. So I'll give them a little bit of credit for that. But, the side-scrolling shooters, we've kind of done it, mate, really, haven't we? Armalite, Catechist, and all the others that we've played so far, they all outgun this one massively. I admire the dedication to the C64 they're showing and the attempt to make something bigger, maybe a little bit different in a way, I don't know. But this is Mr. Heli done hella boring. And the vast spaces, exploring at a snail's pace, it's just not very exciting, that. Shame, really. So no, this was a bit of a waste of blood money for me. What about you? Yeah, pretty much the same. It's another month, isn't it? Another Amiga D-port shoot our way through this time. Yeah. All to earn some blood money for some reason or other. And I've written, because I didn't look, but I thought as soon as I started playing it, I went, is this based on Mr. Heli? Yeah. Clearly it is. Yeah. Certainly felt like it in the first level. And like you said, there's some nice presentation to this in the front end. The weirdest option of all. Do you want your menu? How do you like your menus? Fast or slow? Cash or charge? Or cash, I guess. I mean, it's not deductible, is it? It's like, just do it. I don't know, whatever you want to do. But it just all feels, once into the game, it just feels a bit flat and boring. It does. I don't know. I don't think I should be piloting a dinky helicopter in something called Blood Money. No. It feels completely misnamed, this game. Yeah. It's like they've got this net. I mean, you think. I mean, there was a Hitman game called Blood Money, I think. But Blood Money, you're thinking, oh, this is going to be some, fast, dark, shooter and stuff like that. And then you start playing, it's like, helicopter. That's not Blood Money. And the graphics are okay, I guess, the C64. But like you said, the music's probably the best thing about it. Just get repetitive, though. But even with that, this is superseded on the machine by so many other shooters. It just feels a bit redundant. Why would you play this over Mr. Heli, which was better, or Armalite, or Retrograde, just to name three, we've looked at recently that are all better than this. You just wouldn't. You wouldn't. You're not wrong. It may have all the levels of the Amiga,
fair enough. But having looked at that, it seems that looked like, and I probably did play this around at your house because I think we probably had it. You probably had it. It just seems one of them games that's heavy on front end effects because it's got that kind of, which is missing obviously from the C64 version, where you're sort of flying through the asteroid field, and it's blasting away on that 3D and there's scaling and stuff. And you're like, ooh, and you watch it on the Amiga. And I remember at the time going, wow, that's amazing. And the game started to be like, oh. But it's lacking decent shooting. If you're making a shooter, you've got to have decent shooting. Yep. So I found this a bland experience, one I can't see catching on very well. I thought this was far inferior to X Out or Cross Out that we played the other week. I thought that was way better, a much better game, better idea, and better implementation of it. And like you said, and this annoyed the shit out of me as well, it does that annoying thing where it takes power-ups off you. And this is don't just take power-ups off you. You've bought them. You've spent money on them. If you just collect stuff through the level, you can't just collecting stuff. Yeah. But if you tell me that I'm having to spend my hard-earned money and die and I lose it, that brings out the northerner in me.
I'm outraged by the lack of financial acumen this game's showing.
It's just like, you've asked me to spend money on something, and then if I die, you take it. No, I can't get behind this kind of nonsense.
No. It's brought out the dragon's den in you right then.
I'm out. It's just dreadful. It's such a stupid idea. Like, if I bought them, then they should be on my ship for good for that run.
Peter Jones would be proud of you right now.
No. So, yeah, I found that very frustrating. And it's just boring. And the levels aren't very interesting. And like you said, there's no real... Also, as well, there's no feedback when you're losing energy.
No, not really.
It's just a really tiny little bar in the UI, in it. Really, it's like 5 little dots or something going down, and you can barely see it. So you're not looking at that. You needed something to say you're getting hit. Yeah. Maybe it's in the sound effects version, but if you got the music on, you don't hear it.
No.
Blood money. Nah. I'm not... I know. I'd have been... No. I'm not spending money on guns to have it taken off me.
93% Sizzler, really?
No.
So, no chance.
Else chance. It's in the 70s, this.
Yeah.
There we go. It's not terrible. It's just not.
It should have been about 60-odd%. It's right in that boring
It might
average.
be a 230. Yeah. It might be.
230.
Blood money. I was spitting blood when they took the money off me for my weapon. To tell you.
I don't like the return on the investment in this game at all.
I don't know. I'll buy that, but I want 25%. Can we confer? No. Right, there we go. Blood money. I went all northern. Let's move on. We've got loads of games this week. Let's get on to it. The next one, well, it's the first of. Ironically, the Euros have just started in Germany. So Euros 2024 have just started, and ironically, we've just hit Italia 90, and this is the first of the two games based on that this week. And this is the official one. This is World Cup Italia 90.
Ooh.
So why can official World Cup games just never be bloody simple back then? I don't know. This was £9.99. It got 42%. We'll discuss that score in a bit. Back in 1986, if you remember, cast your mind back, we had US Gold trying to pass off that awful World Cup 86 as a new game, if you remember that. When it was really just that hastily cobbled together re-release of Arctic Computing's World Cup game from the previous year.
It was.
Dreadful. But it was bundled, wasn't it, with loads of World Cup tat. You got like a wall plan and chart, and you got all this stuff, and they charged $12.99 for it. Then you realised it's a rubbish game.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, in 1990, we've got the same thing going on.
Yeah.
Don't happen. This is World Cup Italia 90, or to give it its proper name, Rick Davis's World Trophy Soccer, which was released in 1989, according to Moby Games, for all major home computer systems that I could find. I did find a cover for it. I managed to find the instruction booklet for this version. We'll link to it in the show notes. Notes to its brothers. So it was definitely out there. There was definitely that game was out and released, and it was there.
Existed.
Didn't it? Yeah. That game was developed by Nova Trade. They'd done Impossible Mission 2. It was a weird CV. They did this. They did Impossible Mission 2, some big space role-playing game called Sentinel Worlds 1, Future Magic.
Okay.
Which bypasses by. And something called Horror City.
Okay.
Horror City, which was some kind of light gun type game. And this was also back then, it was in 1989, it was released by Melbourne House.
Okay.
So Melbourne House UK had been bought by Mastertronic back in 1987, which was then bought by Virgin in 1988, where it was then known as Virgin Mastertronic. But games were still released under brands Mastertronic, Virgin Mastertronic, or Melbourne House. It's See what I mean? It's just not confusing at all. Further digging into the Rick Davis game showed that it was actually going to be an arcade. And you can find an image of him stood in front of the arcade cab. So there was one going to be. Couldn't find any info on that beyond the wiki for the game, that it was going to be coming out on Mastertronic's Arcadia machines.
Oh, was that the Amiga one they did?
Yeah, did ARG.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so this was where this was going to be. So what this is, it's another shoddy cash grab after obtaining the rights to make the official game based on the World Cup, exactly as we saw 4 years prior. I mean, they went a little bit further. They did port the World Trophy Soccer game to Amstrad, Spectrum, and DOS, which it hadn't originally been done. So, okay, because I think it was just Atari ST, Amiga, and C64, but they did ports to them. So, but they've essentially, they found a game from the previous year, gone, right, that'll do, release it. Just chat it up a bit. So on the crack we played, there was no loading screen. A quick look on YouTube, though, showed that there was a title screen with a ball exploding. It's kind of got the name of the game appearing. It's a decently drawn stadium in the background, a rather boring tune. But what they've done is, this is all from the original. So the original game had this World Trophy Soccer written as the ball exploded. And they've just simply changed that to World Cup Soccer 90. It's just exactly the same font and everything. Not even bothered to put the word Italia in.
That ain't good.
No, it's not. So we then get to the menu, and the instructions and the review say that there are options to change the game parameters. But I tried a few versions and I watched YouTube. I could find no evidence of options when the game loads.
No, I didn't see any.
I don't know what's going on here. But instead, what we are greeted with is a grey screen asking if we want to play with 1 or 2 players, okay? And we then get a choice of 4 teams: England, Italy, Spain, and Belgium. That's it. That's your lot.
There we go.
Remember, this is not a World Cup game. This is a game built for the arcade a year before.
Yep.
And it shows, because there's no tournament here to play through. Basically, what you get is an arcade progression of ever more difficult teams. This is that. So which makes this officially licensed game even more of a travesty. It's not even the World Cup.
Terrible.
Selecting a team starts you off against the USA. Pressing fire starts the match. I presume USA are the worst team in there, I guess. I don't know. Remember 1989? We don't know who's in the World Cup at this point. So the game itself is seen from a 3/4 top-down view, looking up the field, I guess. It's kind of looking... It's not top, It's not directly top-down like Micropro Soccer. You're slightly behind. You're like looking at an angle down at the players and stuff. Yeah. And so players come running on, and to be fair, considering the C64, they're not terrible sprites. They're animated okay, considering the viewpoint. They look all right. So after they assume positions to start the game, we get a weird insert of a ref's face. I forgot. So it goes, he blows his whistle. It's very shrill. At which point, because the speakers on playing it, my partner was walking past. She went, "What is that noise?" I was like, "It's this shit game. Don't worry." She's like, "Oh," she wasn't very impressed. Then the football starts, and so it's an arcade game, okay? But it's an arcade football game. You run about in 8 directions. Preston the fire hoofs the ball. There are no control options to how far or high you kick it. You just hoof it. You just hoof it and chase after it. It's basically that simple. It's an arcade game. That's all it was meant for. The teams are in white or black and white. So there's no attempt at actually making them look like the thing is. There's no attempt here.
It ain't good.
No official team colours. Everyone runs around smoothly, I guess. There's no slowdown or flicker that I could really notice. There's no real control to this. You just charge about after the ball, booting it in some direction. It's like 10-year-old football. It's like when you play, when you're in middle school, everyone just, football. It's that. It's literally that. Yep. If you don't have the ball, you can tap fire to change to the player nearest it. I don't know why it doesn't do that automatically. You can also boot players by tapping fire when next to them, which is quite funny. Again, it's his arcade heritage. And that will usually lead to a free kick. The ref popping up again, blows his whistle. It's dead weird. He just pops up. He's just in the bottom right of the screen. So it's quite big. It's quite a big ref face.
It
just appears for no good reason. Now, weirdly, when either team gets close to the goal, the view swaps to a straight-on view of the goal. Either from the back, so you're either behind your attacker or you're behind the goalie, I think. It's like you're either looking out or looking in. But because it's flat, there's no depth because it's 2D. No. So there's no, it's like, where's the ball? Where's anything? I don't know where anything is in relation to anything at this point. So it's weird. So at that point, the defenders all disappear. if you're attacking or whatever, and the attacker's just got to shoot towards the goal. And I remember all you can do is hoof it.
Yep.
Half the shots I made just went over the bar because I'm too close because it does go over. When I was the goalkeeper, the controls are rubbish and twitchy because it's just like, I was like, left to right. It's like, I just want to move just ever so slightly. It's like
that keeper was fast. Wasn't he?
It's the exact opposite of the one in that striker the other week. Whereas he didn't move, he just fell over with his pants off. This one's like, it's all over the shop.
Properly twitchy.
And like I said, so I couldn't save anything. All the shots just kept booting them over the net, leading to a goal kick. The computer always scored though, which then makes the ref pop up again with his bloody whistle, goal, and everyone runs back to the circle. It's just dreadful. As a port, I guess, right? So if this was just a port to the C64, which it obviously was in 1989, but we never looked at it, of an obscure early soccer arcade game, I would say this is not terrible.
Yeah.
It's because if this was just ported as like, it's an stupid arcade football game, boot it, run after it, and just try and score. Okay, taken in that regard, it moves okay. It plays like an arcadey style of football. We'd seen later in games like Virtua Striker, Red Card, things like that. On the PS2, PS1, games like that, and Dreamcast. But it's that. It's very quiet though. It's not the quietest game not the quietest game this week. There's another one that'll take that crown silently. There's no sound of the crowd or the ball. No. It lacks any real sense of arcade atmosphere, which is if it needs the noises. It needs all that. But it doesn't have any of that. So as an arcade port, it's lacking atmosphere. But it plays relatively okay. However, it's now the official game of the World Cup. So Virgin Mastertronic, who released this, and they released it for £9.99. This is full price. So this release must be representative of that tournament. You've taken the game and gone, right, well, this is now going to represent the World Cup, and it's lacking in every single respect. It's not football. It's not a football sim. It's an arcade kickabout. Nor is it the World Cup. There are no groups. There's no progression. There's only 4 teams. So repackaging this as a version of that event is once again, like we saw in '86, awful business opportunism. Well, proof just how little the people behind these decisions thought of the paying customers. We've seen this loads of times, but again, it's like, it's the official Italia World Cup. If you bought this, you'd be well annoyed. You'd be really angry. Like, where's the competition? What's this shit thing? Yeah. So just another football game to make you angry. Why? If you're going to license a bloody game, just go get Emily Hughes. Yeah. Or Micropro Soccer. Approach sensible and go, that thing, we're going to make it the World Cup. We're going to pay you some money, just chat. And then they'd have probably gone, yeah, all right, I'd imagine. Yeah. And it'd have been ace. And everyone would be like, oh, it's a really, because they did that with Sensible World of Soccer, didn't they? They kept rechanging that. I'm sure they would have done that, but no. Take this crappy, well, not crappy, but utterly, the game is so not the World Cup. Don't get it. I do, but it's just awful. Awful release. Consign it to the bin of history and forget about this nonsense. Which is a shame, because I think if we'd have looked at this last year as just some arcade football game, we'd have gone, it's all right. It's a bit silly, but it's got progression to it. But you slap the World Cup license on it, and all that awful business practice comes to the fore. And we've said it before, it's just not good. So it's what it is. But there you go. Shoddy shit. What did you think?
Same. £9.99. Get lost. 42%. You're dreaming. This was World Cup Italia 90. I am more like the World Cup Italia 90, physically and mentally. A bitty unusual take of a football game at best. I did like the way it switched to the goalie view, although it was imperceptible in depth. Yeah. But I like the idea that there was changing the way that these games played a little bit. I thought, okay, but it's totally arcade. Yeah. Everything about it. That view's an arcade type view. The referee appear in the corners, very much. If you think of that, the sort of the arcade type golf games and sports games that are out, they often have those insert graphics of people going, there's that famous one, the on the green one, the SNK one, whatever that one's called. I think it's SNK, but that one, the Neo Geo Golf, whatever it is.
Tee-off? Not Tee-off, is it?
Yes, it's something like that. But they, when they all have those kind of insert type graphics, so it's very arcade-like. That's where they've got the inspiration from. And then they've just written World Cup Italia on it. This is the equivalent to getting a Christmas card, crossing out Christmas and putting birthday on it. Isn't it? It's the same difference. Yeah. Graphics, like I said, blocky, bitty, barely any sound in the game means it's devoid of any atmosphere. Should there be any? It functioned as a football game, but not as a World Cup game. The CPU players were all infallible as well. They just got the ball off you all the time, and they could all move faster than you by a click. So no matter how often you got the ball, they could always outpace you, all of them, which is just a bit cheap logic. So, you end up zigzagging your way around the pitch all the time. You can't. It has a similar problem to another football game we'll talk about, which is boot and hope. But it's just felt a bit unfinished, maybe, dare I say, or maybe not unfinished, but just not a finished World Cup game. So, nah, £10 for this is just an absolute rip-off. They stuck the World Cup on it and they knew there'd be suckers to buy it. Terrible thing. No, rubbish.
Yep, and there we go. So that's the first of 2 World Cup games this week. Hopefully, maybe the next one might be better, but we'll see later. Yeah, dreadful thing. Just it's so weird. Just give us it. I don't know. We'd have played it as an arcade game. Would have probably been a bit more forgiving, but it's not, so we can't be. There you go. Let's move on. Still got 1 game left this part. And Graham, well, you've had your blood money, and it's now time for you to become KGB Superspy.
Oh dear! Stupid naming of the games award goes to. So the hell has this got anything to do with anything? This literally has nothing to do. I don't know. At least the game itself, anyway.
They gave the cover as well. They just told the bloke over the phone again. It's another one of them, isn't it? Because it's a guy jumping out and like, what?
So stupid. So this was published by Codemasters. I suppose at least it's budget, and it got 60%. I suppose at release that means it's kind of. The design was Christian Pennicate. The manager Mark Baldock. Sorry, I don't know why I've got those credits, but I have. Producer was Stuart Regan. Okay. The coder was Mark Healy. It's the first of a few games for Mark Healy. Did the graphics as well. And the musician was Matt Gray. Not a bad old thumpy soundtrack from old Thumpy Gray, actually. It's all right. About the best thing about it, really.
Yeah.
The blurb, such as it is, your assignment, prevent World War III. Okay. Top scientists in East Germany have developed an incredible new weapon which could tip the balance of terror between East and West. They want to defect and bring their discovery to the West, but the communists have sealed the border. There is no escape unless you can land your helicopter amongst the red hordes to snatch the would-be defectors. Ends there. Superb graphics, hundreds of enemies, non-stop excitement. You'll really believe you're there in this state-of-the-art game.
I did. I really did.
Is this episode the episode of massively over disproportionate claims?
Yeah, it's hyperbole central.
Of all the things I thought of when I played this game, I did not think I was suddenly transported to East Germany. It says it's completely authentic, actually written by an East German who defected to the West.
Did it?
Who puts that on the box of their game? That's traumatic for that person.
He went missing just slightly after this was released.
Yeah.
Seen in the gulag.
Who puts that on their game box as a good thing? The guy that made this game defected to make it. He made this game. It's like, what are you on about? And then it just says in like classic blurb, incredible weapons. It's got Elga's bit Monty Python, beautiful plumage, an arcade quality game, Adrian. This, so it says.
It is, yeah, arcade quality.
Anyway, to complete its mission, you must collect all the scientists. Follow the flashing arrows at the bottom of the screen to find them. They stand on the ground and wave.
They do.
They wave their left hand as you land at them to pick them up. It seems oddly specific. Beware the poser scientists. I see. They wave their right hand at you, but they're really East German soldiers. Treacherous. When you collect all 6 scientists, land at the safe house. This looks like a thatched cottage. It has the word safe on it. I think that's probably more of a giveaway. And then it just says, Mission 5, the final mission. You are now flying the super helicopter built by the scientists, but you now have only one, so don't crash. Follow your instructions, bottom left of the screen to land all the safe houses, then fly out to West Germany. It's just like, I get the impression that I'm not sure they knew what they were doing when they wrote this. It's just, It just says, and then it's just the header that just says fuel.
Fuel.
And then it says, the fuel will go down as you fly, and when you are hit, watch the fuel bar at the bottom right of the screen. To refuel, land and pick up the jerry cans or land at the safe house. It's like, all right. Okay, it does exactly what it says. I mean, it's been a while since I played a Choplifter clone. This is one of them. This is a Choplifter clone. Did anyone want one of them? Why did they do this? Where did it come from? Where did they find it? Is more the point. So, if someone defected all the way from, East Germany to West Germany or whatever, or all the way to the UK at some point, to make this, I don't know. I suspect they probably had other things on, other important things to do. This was just an afterthought. I don't believe they defected just for this. Anyway, scroll left and right in your helicopter, periodically picking up fuel and scientists and shooting at stuff. That's kind of the game. You can shoot forward or angled downwards, which is really annoying because I can tell you will kill your scientists by accident.
yeah, you will.
Because it's stupid. it's a really stupid decision. So if you move your joystick left or right, helicopters do, in order to go forwards, tip their front dip. They do that. Mm-hmm. Obviously, because that tips the rotor blades forward and it pulls them forward, actually. So that's, okay, I get it. But it means that when you shoot in this game, you can't move without shooting angled downwards. No, most of the objects are actually upwards and shooting at you. There are some on the ground, but more often than not, you're going to be assailed by lots of flying stuff, which you'll want to shoot. So in order to shoot them, you've actually got to stop and shoot them.
Yep.
Because if you move, you shoot downwards. And if you do that and there's a scientist, you'll shoot them. And then it says, you killed a scientist, end of game.
Yeah, yes, it does.
I'm like, So that's really, really dumb logic in this game. But remember, in the back of your mind, be thinking £3. It's only £3. Thinking really stupid, that. And this is so the difficulty in this game is off the chart, but it's not difficult. It's just really annoying because of stupid. So it's just a stupidly annoying game in every way. You'll die a lot. You'll land too heavily, die. Try and pick up a scientist, die. Fly into too many objects, your energy runs out, die. Your fuel runs out, die. Everything takes your fuel away. Why does that even happen? If I get shot by something, it shouldn't leak my fuel away. It's really weird. But
maybe shooting a fuel tank.
Yeah, but everything in this game takes away fuel unless you collect fuel. But collecting fuel can kill you sometimes because you'll land too heavily on the fuel, die. And then for some reason, I don't know if you saw this, there was a silver fist. I don't know what that did. I tried to get it and it wouldn't let, of all the things I tried to land on, it wouldn't let me have that.
No silver fist for you, Graham. Not this week.
I wanted that silver fist. So the game starts. When it loads, it starts. There's quite a nice thumperty soundtrack. There's music and the sounds in this are about the best thing about it. Fair play to Matt Gray. He's done a good job. I don't believe he made the sound for this game for it, but it appeared in it.
Yeah.
And the opening screens itself, it's got a grey logo at the top and then quite a colourful thing. It's all right. Again, we're going for big text again, which is kind of working at the minute. It's the trend at the minute, and I like it. I get it. Works.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you press fire to begin, well, it's a very, very medium resol thing, isn't it? I mean, I know that they're like power lines, but it just shows you that drawing curved power lines on a medium res C64, that just shows you immediately that's not a strength. That's not a strength. The anti-aliasing alone will make you go, ah! So it's like blocky wires, really blocky. The game's blocky. I mean, all right, it's a C64, but it harks back a bit to early C64 games. It feels like we're going back in time, and not in a good way, because Choplifter was better and higher res than this. All right, okay, it is what it is. So you're exploring the medium res zone of green landscapes, and everything's disproportionately scaled. So your helicopter's either really small or the soldiers are massive and the scientists huge. How do you fit 6 of them in that? It's impossible. The scientists are massive. They're as tall as your helicopter.
It's a clown helicopter.
It is. So you control the helicopter. The screen scrolls left and right. You control the helicopter. This helicopter stays kind of mid-screen unless you go to the boundary, then it auto-rotates you. And there's a rotation stage of the helicopter in animation. It's not bad, the animation. It's all right for a helicopter. And the graphics themselves in the game, I wouldn't say they're the worst I've ever seen. And they're not great, but it's very medium res. The scientists kind of look like scientists or men in white coats, I suppose. And there's enemies that fly in around on you. There's loads of enemies on it that buzz you all the time. They get annoying and your fuel's constantly going down. The top 3/4 of the screen is the game. You've got a very boring blue background, but then you've got all black, but then you've got like scenery, and I felt like I was, trolling the landscapes of Lincolnshire. Picking up these scientists. It didn't look particularly industrial. I just felt like I was, flying over some nice parks and that. And again, disproportionate scaling. So either the power lines are 2,000 feet high or your helicopter's flying alarmingly low and they've just created really mini power lines. I don't know. The scaling's off the chart crazy. The graphics are a bit fudgy, I think, bloated and fudgy and that kind of weird medium res fudgery that you get with C64. So it's not quite shaded.
Everything's got a grey outline.
Yes, they do. And I guess that's to help in some way. It doesn't know. It's a way of making sure that you don't see the background through the sprite because it just fills it all in that colour. All right, okay, you did that. And the idea is that you float around in the helicopter shooting and picking up. But like I said, the problem is you'll kill more scientists than you pick up or squash them or land on them or kill yourself. And you'll kill yourself a lot in this game. And when you die, you die. I mean, it's unforgiving. It's totally unforgiving. It does restart quickly. So you're back into it quickly, but you're back into it from the beginning again. So it's like, can I be arsed with that?
All the scientists you've collected.
Yeah, they've gone again. So you've got to collect 6. It's a chore to get them. I did make it to the second level, which felt like there was a little bit more to it. There was a very overshaded green bridge. Where they'd done the gradient shading on the bricks the wrong way round. So instead of the brick shading being from top to bottom or bottom to top, which makes sense, it was left to right, which made the bridge look really weird and like it was covered in green Smarties. Just a decision choice that went wrong, I think, there. And the project, the actual game itself is the same. Like I said at the beginning, the UI at the bottom, lives, score, a number of scientists that you need to collect, and then there's an arrow which points left and right where the scientists are. They'll wave at you. Remember, left hand goodie, right hand baddie. That's it. That's the game. It's 3 quid of that. It's Choplifter, really.
Yeah, but is it their left or my left?
Good question, and you'll find out the hard way, won't you?
Okay.
It's budget, all this, so it gets a little bit of a pass because it's got some nice music and there's some okay touches. It's not the most exciting game, and it's not, it's very repetitive and probably too hard, actually. Yeah. Graphics are okay, but like I said, everything's outlined badly, fudgery, grey outlines, it's dreary looking on the eye, bit splodgy, sort of works here and there, but not really. The scrolling's okay for what it is. Shooting downwards and forwards, that is going to drive you potty, I think, very shortly into it. And you'll get to hear Matt Gray's interstitials, which are very nice, but you heard them a lot, so that's not as nice. The game over was, like I said, tad fast, crashing your helicopter, too easy, but I don't know, 3 quid. I think it's very average for 3 quid. I think this just lacks, it got to a point when the development, they were like, that's it, that's 3 quid's worth that. Anyone, that's 3 quid. They weren't going to put clouds in it where they are, don't put any detail in it. They got it to this point. And they said, what happens when you rescue all the scientists? I don't know, just not the same. Just do a bit more of it. So 3 quid's worth of game, you get 3 quid's worth of game. But I would just refer you back to Choplifter, which was better than this. Or play Fort Apocalypse, which is even better than that. If you want a bit of a helicopter explore game. There's a lot more to them, and they're more fun than this. I spent many a time with the turbo tape version of Fort Apocalypse. I can tell you it's more fun than this, albeit that it's kind of the same sort of notion. So I don't still really understand what it's got to do with KGB and super spies, apart from that weird premise. But other than that, a very bog standard, if not slightly underdeveloped, boring KGB Superspy style 60%er, 3 quid's worth. I don't know. I think even at 3 quid, maybe it's just pushing its luck. I'd have probably sat it around 50%. It's about as middle of the road as it gets. But what did you think of the best game to come out of East Germany since whatever came out of East Germany?
Yeah, what did I think? I don't know. Matt Gray delivering a completely ace piece of music for this is just weird. It's just weird. This is harks back to old times, like Warhawk and things like that. What was that other? There was that other helicopter one as well that was quite good as well. There was another budget one, I think. Battle something. Was it Battle? The one with Jarentel music on it. I think so, yeah. That was pretty decent as well. We had to sort of you had to fly for ages. That was it'll come back to me. But that was good, actually. That was all right as well. And it's like exactly like you said. Battle Valley, that was it. This is rather basic budget fare, some nice visuals, great music, poor in-game sound effects, so I thought. Mm-hmm. It's just a Choplifter Defender knockoff in it. Nowhere near as good as some of the other far better variants of this on the machine. Battle Valley, Drop Zone. It is what it is. It's just what it is. It's also stupidly unfair. Being punished for shooting while flying forward is, but not just punished, but it's like you kill the scientist back to the beginning. If you've rescued because there's 6 of them or science. There is actually. It's not scientist, is it? It's science because it can only fit 5 letters on the UI at the bottom, which made me laugh. Call them men or agent or something. But otherwise, there's 6 little faces, so they've got space. I don't know because it's got lives cyan. It's like, what's a cyan?
It does say cyan, yeah.
But punishing me to put it all the way back—that's just stupid. Kill me. Fair enough. Don't mind if you're going to stop it, but at least leave those scientists that I have rescued. Yeah. So there's not much to say about this one, is it? It is exactly that. Yeah. I imagine if you bought this for 3 quid, you probably would not felt too aggrieved. You'd be like, yeah. But by this point, like I said, Drop Zone, all those are out on budget and things like that. I can't really see what this has to do with the cover either. No. The cover is a guy jumping over a fence shooting stuff. It looks a bit kind of Green Beret. He's actually swinging. There's a helicopter in the background, but there's I don't know. I don't understand it. It's basically one of them. What's this game then? KGB Superspy. Oh, you're rescuing scientists and there's a helicopter in it and you're a cool dude shooting. All right, yeah, I'll draw that for you. Oh, that's not it. More bloody helicopters as well. Sports and helicopters. That's all we seem to have this week.
True, it's true.
Last week was Arcade Obscura, or whenever that was, a couple of weeks back. This week, sports and helicopters. Not Sports Illustrated, sports and helicopters.
Niche.
It's a 3 quid game, isn't it? This through and through, like exactly what you said. Go in expecting no more. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
There we go. That's it. What a weird triple bill that was. But there you go.
Triple treat.
There's no treat there.
Triple treat.
You need it in a minor key.
Yeah, we need to get a minor key version.
Right, there we go. That's it for this part. We're going to go take a quick break. We come back. We've got a lot of music to get through. It is albums and singles for July 1990. So please do stay with us. And yes, we're back. Let's look at some music. Still at number one for the first 3 weeks of July 1990. It is Sacrifice and Healing Hands by Elton John. Pure craft single. This is the craft single, isn't it?
It's absolutely, yeah, it is. No, well, yeah, I mean, apart from the fact there's no cheese in the craft single, but because there's actually no cheese in them. As I discovered to my horror, not actually that long ago. But there you go.
Don't shatter my world. I don't need. No. There are some facts I'm happy in ignorance of. I don't need to know that. They go on my burger. They taste nice.
But yeah, old honky Elton John there. And I meant honky as in he honks, not that he's a honky, 70s style. But maybe he was, I don't know. But anyway, yeah. Now, for the final 2 weeks, it was Turtle Power. I can't remember. Yeah.
Turtle Power by Partners in Crime. Not that, no. So this is the theme tune to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
It is the first ever one. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it's stupid, but I have to admit that describing the plot of the film in rap is not an easy task. So it's done well with those lyrics because I knew exactly what that film was all about after listening to this. I don't need to watch it. I don't need to watch it.
And let's face it, if you're rhyming the word shredder with things, I mean, that ain't easy to do, and not for any longevity. 4 minutes a song. Shredder, get better. I don't know. English setter. Bread. Anyway, as my only comment there was that if you're into this, you were into this, right? So
yeah. I mean, it was massive. It was huge. Wasn't it?
Kids loved it. It was a big hit for kids and stuff.
It was, yeah. Number one albums, still holding that note, is Essential Pavarotti for the first 3 weeks.
There he is. It makes every time I think of that, and especially when you put that, he's still holding that end note. It makes me think of that Bugs Bunny cartoon where he makes that singer sing that note for ages and ages until he causes the whole opera house to collapse on him.
Yeah, it just leaves his glove, doesn't he? Hovering in the air.
Leopold. Yeah. It's Leopold. Leopold.
That's the one. But then replacing him with the full block of cheese was Sleeping with the Past by Elton John for the last 2 weeks.
And he re-released that recently, but because he's a bit more portly these days, it's now Sleeping with the Pasty. Trying to be kind, He's honked his way through another album. It's even honkier, that one.
I thought you were going to do something about but it's now extra mature cheddar.
I could have done that. I'm sticking with my pasty humour.
You do that. I'm sure there's some of our listeners that are on your side. Anyway, let's get some singles. It's a five-weeker. 1st of June, in at number 12 is Thunderbirds Are Go by Fab featuring MC Parker.
Thunderbirds Be Gone. It's horrible. Terrible. Crap thing. It's
dreadful, this. Yeah.
I can't believe that they would let them do that with that franchise, because that's clearly they've got the actual characters from Thunderbirds, and they put a sideways cap on him, and he's rapping. I'm like, oh, this is bad. This is so bad. And it reminded me of that movie that is it Trey Parker, the America? Oh yeah,
Team America.
Team America. It wasn't far off that. If he started throwing up, I'd have thought it was that.
Yeah, true. I did notice though that they're dancing. The puppets dancing in this is still better than Shaking Stevens and Big Fun.
Less strings, you see. Less
strings, yeah. In at number 29 is All Right by Janet Jackson, where she plays a hoopla to a donut thrower. She's a hoopla stick at one point. She sticks a finger up and a man throws a donut on her finger and she pulls a really... It's like I expected the song to stop and go, oh.
There are visual euphemisms and some of these songs this particular episode, and there's one after this one I'll point out, it's getting off the chart crazy. That image of Janet Jackson just going, oh, a donut on her finger. I don't know. It's just all kinds of wrong. It's all kinds of wrong.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. My note of this is bubblegum R&B pop with orchestral stabs.
Yeah, totally. And very expensive, lavish video. I mean, crazy money for such an average run-of-the-mill song.
Yeah. Some nice dance choreography in it.
Yeah, totally. That. Yeah.
Very Janet Jackson. It's not as good as Rhythm Nation, but at least it's back in that direction a little bit.
Yeah. It's more in the sort of more, it's a better sort of song, isn't
than
it?
we've heard for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And number 32 is Come Home by James. Gully's classic.
Yeah. I mean, it was never one I danced to in Gulliver's. I was going to get a drink at this point, but it's okay. I don't dislike it. Just not my favourite thing.
I would have danced it. Great chorus. Good chorus, as ever.
It's good.
Number 33 is I'm Still Waiting, the Phil Chill remix by Diana Ross.
Yeah, dreary. It's this weird. This track was BPM challenged, wasn't it? It was like, it seemed oddly slower than it should have been. Its beats per minute were all off the chart wrong. And then I realised it's because they've time stretched it, but when they've time stretched it, they've done it wrong. So it actually slowed everything down as opposed to actually properly, because they didn't have proper time stretching then. And when you get a sample nowadays, you can make it, if at any time you want, it'll slow everything down proportionally. So you don't notice that it's slowed down. In that one, they didn't have that. They just went, slow it down. Nobody will notice. We did bloody notice.
35 years later, we noticed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. In at number 53 is Oh Girl by Paul Young.
Oh,
Honk. It's so boring. I was asleep by the first honk. So boring.
It is so I was impressed that there was harmonica at the start, because they can't be easy to play when you can only honk. How do you sustain a note on a harmonica when you can only go,
Well, maybe they're just working it. Maybe somebody else play. He's honking, someone's harmonica-ing. Harmonking in.
Honking harmonics. That's his band, Paul Young and the Harmonic Honkers.
Oh dear.
No, boring song. Boring honky song.
Number 54 is Children of the Night by Richard Marx. As soon as I read that, I was like, what sweet music they make. But obviously in Gary Oldman's voice, what sweet music they make.
Yeah. Oh dear, that.
It's very moody and heavy on message, this, wasn't it?
And just a bit, yeah. Black and white's always a sign of mood when it comes to these things, isn't it? Oh, yeah. Very heavy. Very heavy. Millionaire songwriter writes about living on the streets. But it did, I looked at some of the comments on YouTube and it did seem to work for some people. And they said it did, so what do I know? If it helps, if it works, I guess, Yeah, fair play. I thought, is it a charity record looking for a charity?
Could very well have been.
He released it waiting to see for some charity to go, we'll have that.
Yeah, maybe. I did notice that he wanted it though, so there was a severe lack of meatballs for my liking. Can't have everything.
Children of the Meatballs was his preferred title, but they wouldn't have it.
Children of the Campbells. What
sweet gravy?
What sweet sauce?
What sweet gravy they
make.
I do not drink gravy.
In at number 68 is Hot Love by 5 Star.
Oh dear.
Janet Fakeson.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
It's quite shocking, actually.
When I saw them this close together, because obviously the release, and we're looking at these, just hammers home how much of a rip-off they've become. It's like, I didn't realise, because obviously I have no idea about 5 Star by this point. Who cared? But
exactly.
But Jesus Christ.
I couldn't believe it. And it made me think, I was put there, though if the plan was a Jackson emulation, then it did well. And I was actually going to shorten that, but I realised I couldn't, because you can't call it ejaculation.
No, you can't.
So Jackson emulation it is. There you go.
A Jackie Mew.
Ew.
In at number 8 is The Beginning by Rhythm is Rhythm.
Yes, here it is.
Code Logic names there.
Yeah, a bit more Code Logic. So this is actually Derek May and Michael James who made this. Now, Derek May was one of the Belleville Three. I think Brown Sauce spoke about the Belleville Three before. They were credited for creating the Detroit techno genre in Belleville, Michigan. So he did that. Rhythm is Rhythm, known more for the house classic Strings of Life, which became a big house hit. I think Frankie Knuckles or somebody like that. Somebody who had Knuckles in their name, probably Sonic and Knuckles. But anyway, somebody with Knuckles said it was quite good. However, there was an interesting footnote there where there was some accusations, wild accusations made against one of the members of one of the rhythms was accusing the other rhythm of doing something particularly unpleasant. It actually came to nothing in the end, so I won't go over that, but it just sounded like there was lots of vendettas over who'd got money and who didn't. What it didn't end up was with a happy ending. It's kind of a bleak ending to that. Bit of a tragedy for people that maybe have invented an entire musical movement, really. Bit of an unpleasant footnote for their history, really.
Mm. Yeah. And at number 19 is Your Ma Said You Cried in Your Sleep Last Night by Robert Plant. I said, I don't like that title.
I hate everything about it. It's off that stupid pretentious album that we thought of as well, wasn't it? The last one, I can't remember what it was now.
Yeah, Nirvana, wasn't it? Harmonious Nirvana or something.
Yeah, like something stupid like that. Yeah, with the image in front of the amber is like he stood on a Lego block and he's like, painful. That song was crap.
An upturned plug. Aye.
Yeah, he did have that face. But the song was terrible thing. It's like he's warbling and cackawalling. It's not very good.
No, it's not. Number 95 is Only Love Can Break Your Heart by Saint Etienne.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is this the first time we've seen Saint Etienne?
Yes, I believe it is.
I think Brown Sauce is a big old fan of Saint Etienne. He has a bit of a thing for Sarah Cracknell, I think. But it's all right. It's very of its time. Decent enough. It's good to hear a female-led indie band not sounding like the Primitives. Or the Sugar Cubes.
Yeah.
Doing something a bit different.
Yeah, I felt like this, maybe they get better than this, but it's that stupid drum beat that we've heard so many times, isn't it? We've heard it loads. And it reminded me of Dub Be Good to Me in its own kind of sort of logic. But I know they get better than this. So but like you say, it's perhaps more important for who they are more than what they sing at the minute. They do get better.
Yeah. 8th of July, and at number 4 is One Love by the Stone Roses. Another Gullies classic, but not one of my favourites of theirs.
Yeah. Time to get a drink. Let's go to the bar.
Yeah, I wouldn't dance to this one. Number 26 is Rockin' Over the Beat by Technotronic featuring Ya Kid K.
Ugh, here we go again.
Exactly what exactly what you expect it to sound like.
Yeah.
What do you say about it? There's nothing to say, is there? It's just Technotronic.
They had a set of samples and they're going to use them, and they did.
Yeah. Absolutely. They got their money's worth out of them.
They did, but this track is particularly horrible as well because it's got that, it's just awful. It's got nothing catchy. The other ones at least had, Pump Up the Jam had something about it.
Yeah.
A little bit. This one, it's just awful. So no, it's the worst one of their singles, I think. I don't think it's doing much after this either, so.
Probably not. And at number 28 is I'm Free by the Soup Dragons featuring Junior Reid. Now, this is a Gullies classic. And this was time to go to the bar. I can't stand this.
That surprises me that you didn't like this, though. I don't know why. I thought you would have, but
no.
I don't mind the song. I would never have danced to it like you. I'd have just hit the bar or something. But it makes me instantly think of the World's End film because it's music at the beginning of the film.
Oh, is it?
The opening credits of the music have this. Opening credits of the film, have this music on.
Right. Okay.
And it's the theme of the film, if you think about it, because at the end he shouts, "We want to be free to do what we want to do. We want to have a good time." He shouts that at the aliens. That's why they bugger off.
Oh yeah, true.
Yep.
There we go. Number 35 is Shame on You by Gun.
This is so bad.
Band on tour video cliches, this one, isn't it?
Yeah, and not their band, not their concert, I don't think.
No, because they're in a massive stadium. I was like, they're not selling out stadiums in the US. I thought they were supporting someone like GNR or something like that.
Totally that.
But the song sounds like The Cult.
Yeah, it had that vibe, didn't it? U2 were in there, I think. The Cult were in there. Yeah. I like that he was carrying a Cala gas bottle at the beginning. I admire anyone that's that dedicated to barbecues or heaters. All the other band members are carrying their instruments. He's walking along there with a Cala gas bottle.
You never know in America when you're going to be able to pick one up, and you might as well be prepared. When you're on the road, that you can have a barbie.
I wonder if it's like that that American football in that film where that guy gets stranded on the island. That's just his mate. No, it's all Gassy. Come on, Gassy. It's got a little face on it and everything. He talks to it. How did I do tonight, Gassy?
Paul, you're not stranded. We're all here. You can talk to us. Are you hearing voices, Gassy?
I'll just put you down here, Gassy. Don't you move. Make sure you listen to the whole concert.
What do you think? Was I in time? Oh, it's a bit out of time, you say. Oh.
Right. Gassy said that you need to sing a bit better. You were out of tune on a couple of songs. Is he talking about that gas bottle again? Because it's kind of freaking me out. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Look, drummers are hard to come by. Let it go.
More crap at number 38 is Gimme Some Lovin' by Thunder.
Oh, this was awful. This was so bad.
Yeah, so this is the cover of the Spencer Davis's group, Gimme Some Lovin'.
Yeah. Never do that as well, because that's a great song by them. Yeah, and better than this.
It's way better than this. The video is horrible. Metal is on a beach with lots of women in bikinis. It just needs to go away and die.
Yeah, well, lots. Okay, the ones they could get from the nearby, bar that they paid. Like, we're going to do this video. Will you come and stand by the stage? At one point, there was about 9 of them going, yeah, hey, this is great. Terrible. And they're clearly just emulating Bon Jovi in such a bad way there. I mean, it's obvious. It's it's them anyway, and they're clearly going to do that. But even Bon Jovi would never have sang this Bon Jovi like. It's like no.
Dreadful. What dreadful was at number 41 because Falling to Pieces by Faith No More. Again, yin and yang, yin and yang, so close. The fine line between genius and stupid. Because this is brilliant. This is perhaps my favourite track on that album. I really like Falling to Pieces. Not bikini in sight, No need. No need. And cock rock needs to die a quick death at this point. I really like his vocals on this as well. Mike Patton's vocals. So he sort of changes it up and has that kind of weird voice to it, and then just at the end just let's rip at one point. And his vocals are amazing on this. Great lyrics as well, considering how fast they were written.
It's just a tour de force, isn't it? And a bit of a reminder that the music's changing direction. There's a new movement coming.
Yes.
So you're not going to get away with cock rock. And like you said, his vocals are off the chart, brilliant in that. Really, really good. I mean, it shows you how he's a young guy, for how it's a taste of what is coming again. And they're it's not like they haven't dropped major hints. This is sort of 3 songs in a row that have gone, do this, not that. And so you can see from this that the cock rock, like you said, middle-aged erectile dysfunction, hasn't it, by this point? No one's getting hard, are they? No one's getting hard with it.
I don't want to think about that and Thunder. Makes me feel quite ill. And at number 43 is LFO. By LFO. This influential, I think Gary was a fan of this. It sounds like The Orb, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. It is very influential, this sort of stuff. It's influential because of where it's sort of heading. More acid techno, away from house and that kind of charty rubbish that's kind of taken the idea of house music and bastardized it into something that nobody really wanted anyway.
Right.
And so this is, a more avant-garde direction for that. With some really nice, lovely synth pads in it. I do love a good synth pad, and that's got some really good ones in it. So, excellent stuff. Yeah, good. Okay. It's good stuff. It's not what it isn't. It's what that song is important because of what it's not. When you look at everything else around it. So, you're exactly right, along with things like the Orb and stuff like that. Better direction of the ambient techno. Sounds good.
It isn't ambient. Is it number 53? Because it's Kill Your Television by Ned's Atomic Dustbin.
No, definitely not that.
Bit of a indie disco classic. This. I was hearing this for years and years after this in all the indie discos I was going to, and you can see why, because it's a really, really good song. Really good, with a great sort of catchy, sort of stabby chorus. And it's also band with 2 bassists. Unusual. Yeah,
no, I agree. I mean, it's not my cup of tea, and I can't help, when you mention 2 bassists, I think of Big Bottom by Spinal Tap, where all of them are playing bass, because there's 3 bassists in that. All 3 of them have got bass guitar on that one. But it isn't my cup of tea at all, and I'd make no secret of that. But I would honestly, I wouldn't say it was bad at all, because it's really quite good at what it's doing. It wasn't quite where I was going musically, and it never really has been. But there's no denying its aggression. It's totally. I love that about some of these bands that come out when they're just an answer. So we've just gone from Thunder, and then you come down past Faith No More, and then you get this, and it's just a big kick in the balls for all that kind of rubbishy hair metal. It's like, no, this is what you should be doing. Get it, make it kind of really, and it reminds me of some of that early punk stuff, proper punk.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. It's got that kind of vibe about it. Wild, a bit ungated, and just, nobody quite knows what's going to happen musically. It's pretty interesting, that. Mm-hmm. Exciting music.
And at number 76 is Hungry by Lita Ford. This was... The song is what you expect, right? It's Lita Ford. The video is some weird Alice in Wonderland thing. It's weird, though. This is weird because the lyrics in the chorus for this are, I'm so hungry for your sex. Which, rock nonsense. The video, though, has a lot of men dressed up in Alice in Wonderland gear menacing a young girl. I'm not sure they thought this through.
No, it's in very poor taste. All the lyrics are very suggestive all the way, with your fingers running up my leg, and then it's intercut with some little girl in Alice in Wonderland. I don't get the connection, because there isn't one. I think Lewis Carroll has just done a massive shit in his coffin, like a posthumous dirty protest. Dirty, suggestive lyrics, someone flashing their ass and tits off, and all this intercut with a children's story. Error.
Who thought that was a good idea? I don't know.
Not Lita Ford, I don't think.
I don't think she probably had nothing to do with this. She might have seen the video and gone, "What have you done?
Why did they do that?
It's supposed to be a sexy song."
Maybe they didn't have enough footage of her riding naked in that pond, splashing. Well,
yeah, true.
Pond, it was water, swimming pool, paddling pool.
I think it was in that stage, that pond and that background. I think was from a Heart video.
Yeah, they're all related. They're all connected.
They're all connected. We'll see that later. 15th of July. We spoke about this already. Turtle Power. Turtle Power.
It is.
By Partners in Crime. At number 14 is Hanky Panky by Madonna. Never liked this song.
No,
never.
It's because it's from the horrible soundtrack that she did to accompany the Dick Tracy movie. I know Vogue came from that, but this is awful, and so are the rest of the songs, and so is that film. I rewatched it, and it's crap.
Is it crap?
So,
I see. Don't.
Yeah. Just don't watch it again. Don't pain yourself with that you'll get angry.
Okay, all right.
It'll make you angry. Lots of famous people in it. Lots of fancy makeup in it. Lots of the clever colorization to make it look comic booky. Wooden script like you wouldn't believe.
Okay.
But there is a lot of funny gangster names in it. I'll give it that. No, it makes Goodfellas look positively tame with its gangster names.
Aren't they just straight out the Dick Tracy books, though? I imagine that.
No, I never read any of them, but I would imagine so. But yeah, you've got Tommy Jimmy 2 times is inconsequential in this one. They've all got names like that.
Okay. At number 28 is Knocked Out, the Pettibone remix by Paula Abdul.
Shit, Pettibone mix, boring.
Yeah, it's got it's got boxing in the video because it's knocked out.
Yeah, boring.
Yeah,
Paula Abdul features in that video like it's as if they filmed off a stamp and put her in.
Yeah, it's like someone's filmed a telly showing her previous videos and just inserted them in.
Yeah,
those two people box. It's like, well, no.
They did a lot of that with Paula Abdul because I think nowadays you would never imagine it, but back then she was struggling with her personal weight,
right.
And because she didn't fit the designated mold of pop stars TV starlet, and I don't know at this point she was terribly, in fact probably never was, but in Hollywood and at this time she wasn't pencil thin. Therefore, at one point they basically just showed her face in almost silhouette, so you could barely see it. And in another video, they actually thinned the video, so they changed the ratio of the video to make her look thinner in it, which is a trick. Which is something they also did for a video for. There's a trio of girls that sing, and they did the same thing for them, and they got into trouble for it, I think. So
dreadful.
It's terrible. You never imagine they would do it now, but back then it seemed to be, you had to do it.
It's what happened with Ann Wilson as well in Heart, wasn't it?
Yes, that's what I mean. They don't fit the stereotype of what they think you should look like to be on TV back then, so they did what they had to do. But terrible, really. You can't imagine it now.
If you watch all the Heart videos from about 85 onwards, from Alone and all that lot, Nancy Wilson is front and centre through all of them.
Yes,
and then Ann Wilson is just in the background somewhere, and it's just because she's obviously the voice of Heart. It's just all very weird. We'll come to Heart in a bit.
Yeah. Wilson Phillips, sorry, that's who it was.
Wilson Phillips,
they artificially thinned.
Shocking. Number 41 is Silent Voice by Innocence. Sounding like Soul to Soul to me. Soul to Soul. Smooth. The song is smooth. The video is wet. Smooth and wet.
It is. Very drippy. Now, although, see, blowing a wet trumpet is either a euphemism or an 0898 number, isn't it? And that's just the start. If you combine this level of water with brass instruments, it's double entendre gold. Slimy trombone, slippery hands on his trumpet. It's honestly, it just goes on and on and on. Tooting is on, blowing is, it's just, there's loads of it.
I do love a good bit of damp sax.
That's exactly. It just keeps going on. We just had the 0898, 222, 333. Pull my trombone and tickle my trumpet. 0898. My horn's all wet. 0898. It's like it just keeps on going.
I've got a moist horn section.
Exactly, yeah. French my horn. 0898.
Moist horns.
Tickle my tuba. 0898, blah, 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 blah. Honestly, so I mean, it's double entendre. Whoever did that video knew what they were doing. They knew 30 years later we'd be talking about it and we'd be, laughing about the fact that we can make any entendre from any brass instrument in any wet scenario.
Yeah, slippery when blowing.
Exactly. Slippery fingers on my tuba. Come on.
Finger my wet trombone.
Exactly. Finger my mouthpiece.
Stop. Our listeners are saying, just God's sake, what's next?
This is what I mean. You can make your own up. You don't need us.
Feel free to. Well, you probably don't need to now, or you want
to Entendre Gold.
At number 48 is Double Back by ZZ Top.
Yeah.
Song to Back to the Future 3.
It is. Sounds exactly as you expect it to sound.
Yes, it does. It's easy top, isn't it? What it is. Number 48 is actually it can't be number 48. Whatever it is, it can't be both there. Maybe they are. This is Lies by On Vogue.
No, our shite fodder.
Yeah, one for me. This one.
No.
What was though was number 87, Loud Love by Soundgarden.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Quite Zeppelin-esque, this, I thought.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
His vocals are great.
Though.
Yeah, his vocals are very seven. Great riff as well. Really good driving riff for this song. Just another cracking tune, another nail in the coffin of that kind of
a loud
rock.
and aggressive reminder, and it's probably just like a footnote to Thunder. Yeah, stop.
Yeah.
If you don't sound as good as that, and you are never going to sing as good as he sings in that band, never. It's never going to happen. Take your gun, dismantle it, take the bullets out, go home.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's a good song. It is. I did like that one.
It is utterly amazing, that song. It's so crazy good. It's ridiculous.
22nd of July, in at number 13, is Tom's Diner featuring Suzanne Vega, which is a DNA featuring Suzanne Vega. So I've not, it's no secret. I've said about my liking for Suzanne Vega on this podcast. I don't like this. I didn't like it at the time. No. I don't like it now. The a cappella version that's off Solitude Standing, which opens the album, is just too good. It's too good to muck it up with this backing track. I mean, I think I read that she liked it and she was fine with it and everything. And that's cool, it is. But yeah, it's fine. But I personally just find it awful. The original version is just beautiful and perfect. Her vocal delivery through that, just completely a cappella when you listen to it, it's just so good. But this one, no, don't like it. So I'm not on board.
No, I agree with you. No, I agree. Dreary. Anyway, I mean, I like the original as such as it is. I just found this one. It was just everywhere as well. It was ubiquitous. Everywhere you went, you could hear it. It was on the radio all the time. It really got saturated, and you get fed up. It's the same drum beat that we hear in everything. So it's the soul to soul drum beat with Suzanne Vega on it.
Yeah.
So it just turns what is essentially it's really quite, the way it's done is important because it's kind of conveys the whole part of the rationale for it. Yeah. Take that away by putting drum beat behind it, you kind of miss the point.
I think so.
That she likes it. I think she probably just liked the check. Really,
that
came with it. So
quite possibly, I imagine it did sort of open up her music to quite a lot of people who were then thinking, "Oh God, is she like this?" And they probably went and listened to an album, and went, this is not what I was expecting because it's not.
What began as a quirky thing ended with torture.
Yeah, true. Which is what isn't torture though? Is at number 28 because it's Valoria by the Pixies.
Yeah, good song that.
I think this is possibly the cheapest video ever made.
Yeah, it is a bit.
Because it's a slow-mo shot of them running towards the camera in a quarry.
Very slow motion, yeah.
It's wow.
It's
the entire track.
That's it.
But I don't know, is it a comment on the big excesses of music videos? It won't be put it past them to do that. But,
I would say that's a probably good estimation of that, really.
But who knows? But another great track list, another Gullies classic.
It is. It's the one song of theirs I like a lot. I like the melancholy chorus. I like the vibe it's got. So it is particularly good. I wouldn't say I was the biggest Pixies fan ever at all, but that is a really good song, whichever way you swing your bat. So
yeah, it is. Number 32 is Tricky Disco by Tricky Disco.
No, not for me. That wrong side of the sampler.
Not for me either. What also wasn't for me was at number 33 because it was Only Your Love by Bananarama.
What the hell happened?
I don't know. There's a Rolling Stones sample in here. They've tried to sexy them up. It's all gone a bit wrong. There's just no, stop.
No, something has gone wrong badly, hasn't it? I mean, this is obviously the new banana, isn't it? Is in there. So this is two old bananas and a new banana. Not the band name they would have gone for at this point, I don't think.
No, I mean, they're lovely women. They're pretty and everything like that. But I hate this kind of like putting them under, sort of waters and sprinklers and stuff like that, and get to dance up against half-naked male dancers and stuff like that, which I'm sure they might have liked, but it just doesn't work. It's just, I don't know, I don't know.
No, there's a neo-communist vibe about that opening few seconds of that video as well, with the silhouetted men with sort of funny hair punching the air. It's, it's almost a revolutionary poster, isn't it, from the Soviet era? So Russian era.
Actually, look at that screenshot I grabbed. Yeah, it is actually,
Yeah, if you just it had, sort of build more buildings or something would be in Russian underneath that. It is totally that, yeah. Awful song. Awful in every way.
Yeah. At number 35 is How Much Love by Vixen, which should be renamed to How Much Back Hairspray. Because we had Lita Ford, now we've got Vixen, and quite frankly, the backlit hair in this video is off the chart. They can't even fit it in the frame.
It is the wildest we've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, it is like you said, I mean, this is candy floss levels of hair. It is crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Goodness me.
Just go watch this and just be amazed.
I mean, you've taken some screen grabs of that, right?
Yeah.
The one at the top left, I mean, as much as I'm impressed that she managed to borrow a pink jacket from Shiwaddy, which must have taken some leverage, the woman on the right, her hair is like a mat. It's a mass. And notice that as much light is shining on it, no light can get through it. Contrary to the singer, all she is light. She's like a photon. She's like a supernova. All the photons are coming out of that.
Just incredible.
You know, light from her hair is still on its way out across the universe. It's illuminating parts of Pluto as we speak.
There's aliens going, hey, turn it off. Good Lord.
What the hell is that coming from Earth?
It is so bright. It's so crazy.
It is the brightest we've ever seen.
Yeah,
and the biggest.
The luminance is just off the charts. I can't get around it. When I watched it, I was like, oh, good Lord.
Her hair is blonde, but it's pure white.
Yeah. She's been lit by, I don't know, like what's a super trooper?
I mean, it looks, at any moment now, that's going to ignite. You know, that's reaching critical mass.
Absolutely.
That's what I imagine Chernobyl looked like just before it blew up. That
the sun's got bloody shades on looking at that.
Yeah. It's a magnetic, like overhead of that, there'd be like a aurora borealis. It's that bright. It's caused a magnetic shift of the Earth's poles.
Yeah,
that is bright. That is crazy.
That is big. It is very big. At number 43 is That's Just the Way It Is by Phil Collins. This is a song more boring. I've yet to hear it.
You're not wrong. I noticed the ants in the garden were drowning themselves in a puddle when I played this with the window open, and they don't even have ears. How weird is that?
That's just the way it is, Graham.
They just formed a long line. They were like, ugh, ugh. That's unusual behaviour. I'm going to release 100% yellow. I did that, and they actually enjoyed it. They formed a little party and danced to it because they like yellow. They don't like Phil Collins though. That's just the way it is, Phil. Sorry.
No wonders. Well, we've had Lita Ford, we've had Vixen at number 47. I Didn't Want to Need You by Heart.
They have to release in threes though.
Yes, it's just a triple treat. It's not terrible. It's better than some of the recent stuff, but it's elevated as ever by Ann Wilson's vocals because they're really good in this. They're really strong and really good. But as you've written, trite songwriting. It's not best, but
no,
yeah.
She will always turn in a great vocal performance. It's just a pity that they get to sing such utter crap. On the whole, not every song is that bad, but she makes them better by being her. But this one had a real Bon Jovi-esque vibe. I sensed a familiar producer behind there somewhere.
Quite probably.
No.
What was worse, though, was at number 50 because it was Itsy Bitsy Teeny Weeny Yellow Polka Dot Bikini by Bomb Ballerina.
No.
This is an abomination committed to vinyl. A sure sign the devil exists. I hate this with every fibre of my being. I never liked Timmy Mallet. This can fuck off.
Yeah,
it's everything I hate about music is here. It's got woo, yeah, and it's got that all right, oh yeah. Everything is awful. I can't. It made me. I forgot how much I hated this.
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, when this song appeared, all involved should have just been bronze bulled immediately.
I don't know what that means, but I don't like it.
Well, I'll tell you. So that's where they actually put them inside a bronze bull. And then they put that over a fire and they just slowly roast them alive inside a bronze bull.
Okay.
That's bronze bull. It's incredibly, this was Andrew Lloyd Webber because he produced it and wrote that song with Timmy Mallet. And how did they even meet? How did Timmy Mallet meet Andrew Lloyd Webber and how did they get along? What universe did they... No, I don't get it. Anyway, Bomb Ballerina, by the way, is the name of the lead character in the musical Cats. But either way, all that. Bronze Bull'em.
Yeah, just awful. It's dreadful. I mean, it's just out Agadoo Zagadoo. Dreadful. Number 76 is Let Love Rule, which is kind of ironic, seeing as the hatred we had for the last one.
True.
By Lenny Kravitz.
Yeah.
It's all right. Very Beatlesy, isn't it?
Yeah. Lenny's Kravitz sounds like a type of cracker. Do you enjoy Lenny's Kravitz?
now in rosemary flavour.
Rosemary flavoured Kravitz. It does. Yeah, I'd buy that. I'd eat them.
You would. You'd eat anything, though.
I would, but I don't know if they were called Lenny's Kravitz. I'd eat them, because also Lenny's Kravitz sounds like a place you don't want to go.
Yeah.
Oh, Stick it in his Lenny's Kravitz. That'll do him. Anyway, it is very Beatles. So no, I'll stick to. I'm not. I like Lenny Kravitz. I like Lenny's Kravitz as well, the cracker.
You wouldn't like Lenny's Kravitz though.
No, I don't want to ever get Lenny Kravitz. That's his brother.
Lenny Kravitz.
Yeah. Do you know, it just put one letter slightly different in it. Lenny Kravitz, okay, kind of cool. Benny Kravitz, not as cool, is it that?
Or Rennie Kravitz. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Rennie.
Well, Rennie with these Kravitz, you're already spoiling us.
Oh dear, 29th of July.
Very Beatles, that very Beatles. Yeah.
Very Beatles.
Very Beatles.
29th of July, and at number 11, Thieves in the Temple by Prince.
Yeah, I like it. It's all right for what. I know you're not a big fan of this particular version of Prince, maybe. I think it's got Morris Day in the Time at the start of this, which I thought would like Prince's Mortal Enemies. But anyway, it is what it is. It's all right.
It's all right. Whatever. Number 17 is Tonight by New Kids on the Block. Rubbish this, yeah. But as soon as I watched it and listened, that chorus kicked in, I was like, oh, I remember this one. Tonight,
yeah.
Tonight.
Dun, 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 dun. Egg. Dog of the egg. Egg of the dog.
It is. Number 21 is She's a Little Angel by Little Angels.
No.
Sweaty and terrible. There's no way to go through life. Cliched nonsense.
Yeah, another egg. Dog egg.
Another egg.
Yeah.
We've got triple egg actually coming up. 23, Violence of Summer, Love's Taking Over by Duran Duran.
Just stop. Just stop.
A band with no ideas and a lack of sense of who they are by this point. That's what I got from this.
That's such a good, accurate description of that. You don't need to say any more, do you? It is awful.
Or egg. Well, egg will do.
Yeah, it's just egg. It's just, no. No.
It's not good.
So bad.
Number 24 is Hardcore Uproar by Together.
Yeah. Born from the Manchester Hacienda scene, this. The guy from Guy Called Gerald, Urban Cookie Collective. I don't know. They went on to do all the remix and stuff like that. And then he died in a motorcycle accident, actually, with his daughter, I think, or partner. So quite tragic end again. But the song itself, Pier 39 fodder that.
Yeah.
All the way.
Sad end indeed.
Mm.
And at number 36 is Amanda by Craig McLachlan and Check 1 2. Can they only have songs that are girls' names?
I think that might be the truth. I didn't check the album out, but there was, because we had Mona, Amanda, and they've probably got others as well.
Absolutely. Tracy, Deborah, Annabelle too. What is this? Anyway, but this is rubbish. Mona was okay, even though he never changed chord. But this is rubbish, genuinely rubbish. Sixth form bands would be ashamed of this.
It is bad. It's so bad, so horrible. Really naff as well, like you said. And the video was trash of the highest order. Make it stop. Make it end.
Number 42 is Blaze of Glory by John Bon Jovi.
It's a good song. It's very Western, like you say.
There's no song nor video more Western than this. None.
There isn't.
When it had finished, all my shirts had tassels on, my trainers had turned into high boots with spurs on, and I found that I was now in the intro to Dallas.
Tell me about it. Every bedsheet in my house is now gingham. And I find that I'm spitting into every container I can find and demanding whiskey off everybody.
I don't know what's gone on. I just listened to this once and suddenly I was back there. Well, it was the combination of this and bloody ZZ Top, wasn't it?
It's off a film, isn't it? Blaze of Glory? Is that off
it's Young Guns, isn't it?
Is it Young Guns or Young Guns 2? One of the It's Young Guns, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm always convinced, by the way, that when he goes into the chorus, he's out of tune.
Well, I wouldn't say. I mean, they would know that they weren't. I imagine they wouldn't let that go.
It just seems off. That first note, it always seems off to me. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I've never liked it.
It's just you.
It is just me. And at number 54 is For Her Light by Fields of the Nephilim.
Ah, very good stuff, that.
It is a good song, this, yeah. Good goth. Late for goth stuff, but good.
Yeah, but good goth stuff. Proper goth as well. Hollow echo, reverb-laden vocals, indistinct, really, almost one might say. Yeah. I loved it. I loved everything about that track. It really hit the notes for me, that one. I love it.
Good song. And finally, number 74, Vision of Love by Mariah Carey. She's here.
Yeah, she's out there. She's loose.
She is, with her range.
Yeah, I mean, no denying the woman can sing. She's got a set of pipes in her, hasn't she? But and she's also a little bit crackers, I think she went in the end. I think it helped that she was married to the head of Sony, I think, at this point.
Well, I mean, that voice, it would matter. But
not just the head of Sony, like the person. You just marry a head.
The head of Sony. She looks very young in the video. It always makes me, when you watch these early videos, how young they look. Like,
yeah,
young.
totally that.
She
was, yeah.
But I got a vision of love. So yeah,
it's all right, and she's an amazing vocalist. I mean, considering how young she is, it's incredible that she can hit. Some of those notes that she hits out. Only pigeons really can dig them, but I mean, even so, still good.
Absolutely. Let's get on to some albums. Let's just get through these. 1st of July, in at number 8 was Hot Rocks, 64 to 71. It's a Rolling Stones compilation.
Yeah, Jumping Jack Flash on there, which is the Gimme Shelter. Actually, the good ones.
It's the classic Stones period, yeah, pretty much. Number 18 is Reputation by Dusty Springfield, her 13th studio album.
Yeah, she can't be stopped. Good old Rusty Springbucket. Yeah, she's a good singer though.
It was her first studio album in 8 years.
Yeah, it's all right. They just they kept her there all that time as well. Just fed her on eggs.
Number 22 is The Hard Way by Steve Earle and the Dukes.
They don't do anything easily in that band. Even their name is quite hard. So that's why.
That's true. Number 32 is Goo by Sonic Youth.
Yeah, big. Is that one of their bigger albums? I know. It blew my mind a bit, that.
6th full-length studio album by Sonic Youth. I didn't know they'd been going that long, or they had 6 albums out.
Neither did they.
I probably didn't. So, band sought to expand upon its trademark alternating guitar arrangements and the layered sound of the previous album, Daydream Nation, exploring themes of female empowerment and pop culture.
Somebody's got to do it. May as well be them.
Number 58 is Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em by Eric B. and Rakim.
Good album, actually. That, if you like
third
that kind
album.
Of thing. Good stuff.
Always amazing when you find out that what you don't know. 8th of July. Number 7 is Compositions by Anita Baker.
Yeah, for some reason, I instinctively thought it was Anita Dobson for a second. I don't know why.
I get confused all the time. She's had 4 albums out. American R&B soul singer. Well, that's one way to describe her. But,
yeah, she's weird now. She's in Doctor Who now as well. She'll briefly, but yeah, weird. Not Anita Baker, Anita Dobson. Anita
Dobson, yeah. We don't know anything about Anita Baker, but Anita Baker.
Nothing whatsoever.
Hence why we're talking about Anita Dobson.
Yeah.
What we know about Anita Baker ain't worth knowing.
Because we don't know anything. So we actually don't know anything.
Number 11 is Bonafide by Maxi Priest.
Yeah, I was never into them.
Nah, 4th studio album. Number 36 is Best of the B-52s, Dance This Mess Around.
Yeah, classic B-52s compo album, that. And all their great songs as well of their early B-52s, the good B-52s.
Okay.
So, just on that album alone, tracks that, stick out. Rock Lobster, 6060842, Devil in My Car, Party Out Bounds, Dances, all of them. Wig, Planet Claire. That's the classic B-52 sound that I kind of fell in love with. I like the newer version stuff they did. Don't get me wrong, but that album is such a good album of ace B-52 tracks, one after the other. It's so good. Worth every penny of that.
Number 41 is Infinity by Guru Josh.
Guru Wank.
Okay, there you go.
I think Gary liked it. I seem to remember he liked that, probably.
And you can take that to the bank. 15th of July, at number 3 is Flesh and Blood by Poison.
No.
I don't know. This made me laugh. I mean, it's Poison. We've just had Unskinny Bop, right? Parts of the album are darker and more serious. This is written on Wikipedia, including overcoming hard times, missing loved ones, long-term relationships, and mass socio-political disillusionment. Is that what you sort of associate Poison with?
Unskinny Bop?
Fun topics, though, include sex, exhilaration from music on motorbikes, and tongue-in-cheek poverty. There's always something good about tongue-in-cheek poverty.
Now there's an oxymoron right there.
I can't. Someone must have written that as a joke. They must have.
Tongue-in-cheek poverty. God, that's weird. Okay.
I'm skint. Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's maybe what unskinny bop means. I don't know. I never did really figure out what it meant.
Who cares? But it's just ridiculous. And at number 9 is Goodnight LA by Magnum. It was actually Goodnight LA for them because they were a British band, aren't they? And this was their album to try and break America, and didn't work.
No, and then so later they just decided to make ice creams, and they're actually very successful, and they are good. Well done, Magnum. The music didn't work out, but the ice creams and the ice lollies are delicious.
First of all, you were quite a popular sort of private eye detective show in the early 80s. You turned your hand to middle of the road rock, but finally you found your niche by making chocolate covered ice cream.
Yes, and we're all better off for that. So thank you very much.
Absolutely.
That's Adi Fufkin from Polydor Records.
Yeah, Absolutely. Although I do quite like the cheap co-op ones just as much.
Yeah, they're just as good. They're just as good. The Magnots, they're just as good.
Well, let's face it, though. Magnums are just a chalk ice with a stick in it.
Yeah, no one said they weren't, did they? They just called it Magnum.
Someone had the idea. No, this chalk ice would be really better with a stick. They made millions from it.
Slightly thicker chocolate on it so that it has that nice cracking sound when you bite into it. If you eat your ice creams that way. I'm a gummer, not a biter, I have to say. So
have we gone back to bloody wet trombone bar? I'm a gummer, not a fighter.
Isn't I'm a Gummer an album by somebody as well? I think
probably.
Pink Floyd, possibly. I think. Which was, we didn't know. Turns out it was about people who bite into ice creams with their not with their teeth, because it's.
Why would you bite into them? You can't get to your teeth are in the way of your gums.
No, I guess you kind of bite into them with your lips. It's hard to explain, but I can now bite ice cream. I couldn't bite it in my youth because I had very sensitive teeth. Now all the nerves are dead. It doesn't matter. I could bite into anything. It wouldn't matter. It might crack the teeth in half though.
Bite into lava.
I have. Yeah.
Inside of one of those McDonald's Hot Pockets, whatever they were called.
Yeah, the apple pie.
Yeah.
Oof. Lava pie.
Yeah. Number 23 is Craig McLachlan and Check 1 2 with the album Craig McLachlan and Check 1 2. I believe
they released an album already. When did they even do that? All the album titles, of course, like we said.
Sheila, Barbara, Annabelle
Barbara,
too.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. All song names, all one chord,
and they're all rubbish. Number 35 is "Are You Okay" by Was Not Was.
Now I found out a thing. And this is actually thanks to the amazing Pop Collaborate and Listen podcast.
What have you found out?
Because it's not pronounced was not was.
How's it pronounced?
Was not was. It's was not was.
I don't believe it.
That's what they said.
Yeah,
I'm not one to question. Maybe they're lying, maybe they're not. But they said it's was not was, which is why it's written that way. Blew my mind. That did.
It's was not was.
But it's not. It's was not was.
You don't say I was
not
walking.
was.
I was walking past the shops.
No, his name is Was.
It's Bob Was.
No, his name's not. But his name is Was. It's like whatever the name is. I mean, it's unfortunate that he's named that way, but his name is Was. So that's why it's called Was, not Was. It's telling you how to say it.
Stupid. I don't like it.
Is stupid.
Anyway, this was their fourth album, but they didn't release another album for 18 years.
Good, because nobody could decide what to call them.
What happened to Was Not Was? Never heard of him.
You mean Was? Shut up. Get out.
Take your stupid pronunciations with you.
He was never the same.
Good Lord. Number 50 is Brick by Brick by Iggy Pop. His ninth studio album.
Yeah, good old Iggy Pop. Almost stripped off naked in his black and white videos.
He did. At number 59 is Lights, Camera, Revolution by Suicidal Tendencies.
No, not my thing at all. Suicidal Tendencies.
Their fifth studio album. This was the band's first release with bassist Robert Trujillo, and the last studio album with drummer R.J. Herrera.
Yeah, he exploded on stage.
He had a suicidal tendency. 22nd of July, in at number 17 is Police Hammer Don't Hurt Them by MC Hammer.
How is that his third album? How?
I don't know. It's because he was releasing albums and then he wrote no. Oh, he didn't.
I mean, I'm guessing that they never got any release in the UK at all up until Please Hammer this one because of, Don't Touch Them and whatever it was called. Can't touch this. Don't touch them. That's a whole different song, isn't it? Can't touch this. But no, not very good, is it? And he rips off a lot of artists on samples. So I don't believe he would have made a lot of money from them.
Maybe really. Not. No. Is he any? He's what's he called? A pastor, isn't he? A preacher, isn't he?
I guess so. Yeah, I think you're right. Actually, I believe you might be right. Yeah.
Number 43 is America's Most Wanted by Ice Cube.
Very good album. That if you like that kind of thing, very of its kind. Yeah. But Ice Cube's a really good vocal performer, and he's very good on that. So which we're checking out. Fair
enough. At number 63 is Naked Thunder. That's a horrible thought. By Ian Gillan. It's released soon after his departure from Deep Purple in 1989. It features a varied selection of songs, Graham, one of Gillan's most passionate and impressive performances on power ballad Loving on Borrowed Time and traditional field lament No More Cane on the Brazzos.
I wonder why he went off and did that solo. He pitched that to Deep Purple. Imagine that. They pitched it to Deep Purple. They were like, you might want to do that on your own, mate.
Yeah. There's a It's like, what's it? I don't know if I've like copied. I don't know if I've gone to Wikipedia or Fakepedia or something. Like,
it does sound fake, but deeply acrimonious split, I believe, with Deep Purple, wasn't it? With Ian Gillan, I think.
Yeah, maybe that's.
I don't think they were very nice to each other at the end.
What's a field lament?
I don't think we should ever find out.
No, probably not. 29th of July is The Vegetarians of Love by Bob Geldof, which might be the wankiest title we've yet had.
I think it is.
It outfishes fish.
It is, isn't it? I mean, sorry, Bob, you're an interesting guy, but no.
The Vegetarians of Love.
No. My eldest has got he doesn't particularly dig the vegetarian life. That's all. Let's put it that way now. And he said to me once that he eats twice as much meat at a barbecue, so at least one vegetarian makes no difference. That's dedication.
That's dedication. Well, I can get behind that. That's dedication because I'm the same. If there's meat left at the end of a barbecue, I'll just eat it. I mean, nothing goes to waste.
Yes, and then the gaseous emissions emerge.
Well, I just feel like if an animal died for it, you might as well eat it.
Exactly, that's his point.
Yeah. Number 24 is Armchair Theatre by Jeff Lynne.
It's probably really good, but I'm never going to listen to it.
No, it made me laugh because it's reunited Lynne with Electric Light Orchestra keyboardist and featured fellow travelling Wilburys, George Harrison. So passes the Wilbury.
Exactly. This cost him 6 Wilburys to make this record.
You're already recording stuff with the Wilburys. I'm just going to record my own stuff with the Wilburys.
It's like, George, can you come and sing on this record for me? Oh, it's going to cost you at least a couple of Wilburys. Oh, for God's sake! I need all my Wilburys.
Otherwise, I won't get any time to play on the next Wilburys album.
I haven't got any spare Wilburys. I just haven't. Come on, give a guy a break. Sorry, no Wilburys, no ski.
Absolutely.
I'm getting that on a t-shirt.
And finally, number 33 is Eroica by Wendy and Lisa.
Yeah.
Third album, whoever they are. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about them before because they've popped up before, but I don't think, we've ever really got deeply into the whatever the hell they do. I don't know. I didn't listen to it and I won't. So people dig it great, but I don't. So
there you go. That's your music for July. There's certainly a lot of it. Not all of it good, as per normal. No. We're going to go away, take a quick break. We've still got 4 games to get through, Graham. So
we do.
Let's, oil our larynxes and come back in a moment. See you in a bit. And we are back. 4 games to get through. Sports are heavy this week. It is heavy with the sports. And we start off with fantasy sports. This is Grave Yardage, Graham. This is £19.99.
It is.
It got the 2/3, 64%.
It's expensive, that.
It is. It's another take on American football here. This time very much taking inspiration from Blood Bowl. Games
totally.
Workshop. So this is Grave Yardage. It's a spicy $19.99 because it's disc only. We'll get to that. We'll get to what that entails later. This was published by Activision, developed by Incredible Technologies.
Incredible.
And they are Jim Zielinski on design. Zielinski. Jeff Gonjon and Robert Fuentes Jr. on code, R. Scott Morrison on graphics, and Kyle Johnson on music and sound. There you go. So when the game first loads, we get an animated intro, some American C64 style music. Americans always...
I know, yeah. It's always that style, isn't it?
It's always. They just don't... I don't know what it is, but they've never sort of... Like Europeans do, Hubbard, Tell, all these kind of things. They have this great music, and American music is always that. Always.
Yeah. Verbally, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it's weird this because we see a winged eyeball floating before two sort of fantasy players slam into each other from either side of the screen, and we get the credits on there. It's quite nice, I guess, as intros go. Good level of details, bit of polish. It's all right. After that, we have to answer a copy protection question, which is kind of weird. The crack we had was cracked, but I did have a look for it. And it's basically in the... I found someone online had put actually the sort of answers to them up, and it's like weird, in 2024 or something, Sparky did how many throws or something, and you have to put in the number or something like that. So
stats from the
stats, sort of made up stats for made up characters. So that was that. And then the game finally loads into the main menu, and I found this a little confusing because I couldn't find no instructions for this.
No.
Couldn't find anything anywhere. But so there's we can choose to let the plays be chosen by fate or chosen by the players, but I'm not quite sure that worked. We can choose the length of quarters from 2, 5, or 10 minutes. And we can choose whether to play against the computer, which is listed as mechanical, or a 2-player game, which is listed as biological. It's like, just put computer, CPU. And finally, we can play or build. So choosing build lets us you can create your own pitch, team, and playbook of plays if you really want to get into it. So you can do quite a lot. You can get in depth and do your own kind of tinkering around and stuff behind the scenes if you really want to do that. But selecting play starts the loading, and there's a lot of loading in this. The first thing we then get is to choose the pitch we are going to play on. So there's different pitch designs, like they've got mud and you'll see it. It's just different designs. It's like an American football pitch, but it's sort of laid. There's mud and bits in different areas. There's some bits are more muddy than others, and you can choose different designs for them. The team we are going to field. So who we're going to be, we can then pick up the offensive tactics and then the defensive tactics from a load of different types of ones. There's tons, far too many to list, but you can choose what you want to do, basically. So these are chosen in little windows. It's quite nice because they've got kind of a little display at the top with some stuff. And there's the pointers for what we are selecting. And there's like little orc cheerleaders next to them, which is quite nice. It's quite a nice touch, actually. It's quite well presented. It's not terrible. It's a bit blocky.
No.
But it's it's quite all right, and it looks quite decent. Once you've done all that, you get more loading. That leads to the coin toss, such as it is. But it's not actually a coin toss here. There's a small bandaged creature surrounded by loads of sort of fantasy, orcs and zombies and all that kind of stuff. And he spins about and then stops and points at one of them. And it's quite nicely drawn graphical screen, I guess. And that's the head toss. So then you can pick which way you want to go. Once that's done, flip the disc over for more loading. There's an intermittent loading screen showing loads more fantasy creatures fighting amongst themselves with the winged eye, which is the ball. It's kind of odd. I don't think at this point we need a loading screen. We just need to get to the game.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, it's just stalling us. Just get us to the game, please. And because there's more loading. And so once we get to the game itself, it's a sort of top-down flick screen affair. So we start on the far left. So basically the pitch, which is at the top, is kind of shown in sort of 3 sections, 3 screens. And that's, so it flicks from one to the other. So when you start, you kind of, the way it sort of started each time for me was that it showed the left-hand side of the pitch. Each kind of screen sort of has sort of 10 yards. So it's a selection of the 10 yards, so 10, 20, 30. Then the middle screen will have sort of 30 to the other 30, and then the end bit will left hand. And that's how it kind of works. So you've got 3 screens to depict the entire pitch. And so what happens is the winged eye, which is the ball, is blasted out of a cannon for the kickoff. It travels downfield, flicking to the middle of the pitch, and then to the right side of the right screen or the right side of the pitch. It's then picked up by one of your players or one of the opposing players and carried forward. It's American football. But it is here that things get different, a little interesting, because you don't just run with the ball and try and get it as far as you can. No. You can actually engage any opposing team members in combat. You're kind of just hitting out and you're sort of trying to beat each other up. And you kind of try to take out and kill the opposing team almost, kind of Blood Bowl-like. So it's not, as soon as you get tackled, you're not entirely tackled. You're fighting almost. It's not the most in-depth fighting. You're just basically pointing this joystick in a direction and pressing fire, and you're kind of flipping a hand out and stuff like that. But you might knock them out. You might get knocked out. There's a little bit more to it. So once you've been taken down or taken out, it then goes to standard American football. And so this is kind of weird because it's oddly presented, this, because there's every now and again a floating skull will pop up while you're in sort of middle of plays, and even in the beginning bit, sort of awarding points, and it awards points for things like littering and such like. It's kind of a bit weird. It's kind of all over the place. I don't know what was going on sometimes. Like I said, the pitch takes up most of the screen. There's the main UI at the top when you're playing, and that UI has the score for each side in the top corners. It's also got a list of skulls underneath the score, which I think is to show how many alive team members you have left. I think that's what that was supposed to represent.
Yeah, I thought that.
In the middle of the UI is the basic information, such as which quarter we're in, time remaining, and what down it is, and how far you have to make it to reset the downs to the first one. very American football. If this was just American football, it would just be American football, but it's not. It's fantasy American football. So in the middle of the pitch, once we're going down to now to choose our plays, we sort of get 2 scrolls kind of open up. And you decide which play you want by scrolling. There's like a list on this scroll. You move it up and down to select which play you want. And there's a nice touch here, which I thought, because if you move left on the joystick, so if you're the team on the right, if you're playing right to left, if you move left on the joystick, then it actually brings up like a little graphical display of the play, each one.
Okay.
So you can sort of see where your players are going to run. And that's actually quite nice. For each play, you just tap left and you'll get it'll sort of fill the screen sort of thing with like, right, he'll run there, that one will run there. That's actually quite nice. That's quite a nice sort of lets you know, okay, it's going to be that kind of play. I kind of understand that. And that's quite impressive. So once you've selected one, then it flicks to a second list. And no matter whether I selected Fate or Combatant to choose plays, this section always auto-selects itself in a blur. It just and picks something. I was like, I don't know what it's picked. I don't know what's gone on here. So then we get more loading. There's loading as well before the scroll pops up as well. And we get more loading here before the play begins. And then we get to play the move. We control little troll or zombie or goblin sprite, depending on what kind of creatures we've picked for our team. And we basically try to move the ball upfield by running, throwing, or hitting the opposing team, and we rinse and repeat. It's American football. And that's kind of it, all right? So it's that. So there's a few problems with the game, though. As a version of Blood Bowl, I guess it's not terrible. It's not bad. It suffers, though, in some major ways. Yeah. There are only 4 players on each team on screen, so the field feels very empty. Yeah, and we saw TV Sports Football the other week, and that had like an entire team, 2 teams on screen all moving around, and it felt very American football. This is like quite empty. The sprites suffers from tiny sprite-itis, this game.
Does a bit.
They're a bit bitty and they're a bit ugly and they're a bit small. The pitch itself is not particularly well drawn. It's sort of this brown, blotchy and green, and it's a bit...
characters.
It's a bit ugly, this game. The sprites, like I said, they're tiny. They lack any real decent animations. It's all a bit 2-frame animation, which is a bit of a shame because there's only there's no multiplexing going on because there's only 8 sprites on screen at any one time. So they could have put some effort into actually doing some decent animation for these things when there isn't really that much. It's an American football game with fantasy trappings where you can beat each other up, and that's kind of it. The main issue, though, beyond all that, it doesn't look very nice, it doesn't sound very good or anything like that, is the loading. The loading kills this game stone dead. Every play, after every play before the options come up, once chosen, more loading, it kills the game. It just stop. You're waiting. So you play a thing like, now pick another play. Pick a play. It just goes on. It just kills it. It's stone dead. It makes TV Sports Football look positively lightning fast in comparison at times. And then the problem is when all that loading happens, the payoff's not good enough. Not really. No. Small bitty sprites trundle around a bitty field, some sparse spot effects. And every now and again, this skull pops up going, 263 points for littering or whatever. It's like, it just lacks any impact. You know, if you're imagining these are supposed to be fancy types, you see that opening sort of image and that's where the opening image does this game no favors. As it's loading up into the game, everyone's sort of crowding around. There's loads of different characters. It's all big and bold, and you get into it. It's like, little crappy sprites doing little crappy things. It just lacks any kind of impact. Blood Bowl's a great idea, always was. I used to love playing Blood Bowl back in the day, always enjoyed it. And we've seen attempts at these kind of fancy themed sports before. There was that Grand Monster Slam, was it? And things like that, which they never seem to work. For one reason or other, and that's the same here. It's too slow, it's too tedious to play, the payoff is not good enough, the reward is just not good enough for all the waiting around. There needs to be more action and more impact, more oomph. Maybe the C64 just can't pull it off to a decent way, but this is just, really, really simple stuff. This looks like a game from about 1985, 86. It looks like an early mid 80s game. And with all that loading, I can't believe this is all there is. So it's a bit of a pity, really. It got 60-odd%. I think that's a bit generous, if I'm perfectly honest. This is probably 40s to 50s for me at a push. It's just dull and a bit... No, I was expecting more, but it's just not there, I'm afraid. What about you?
Everything you've said, and with the addition of dull, overclocky, bitty, fidgety, And just the loading just ruined it. I mean, even if all that other stuff aside, maybe you could have put up with that if it didn't take 10 minutes to get anywhere in this and just load and then this and then load and then that. And it just kills it stone dead. So even if I had an affinity for it, and I liked Blood Bowl, I mean, we played Blood Bowl together a couple of times.
We did.
I enjoyed that. And the idea of this game is a good idea. This implementation is so poor. And it's just, maybe the 664 was hopelessly out of its depth with the requirement of mini loads and just having 64K. Maybe you needed a 512K Amiga or whatever to really be able to get the most out of something like this. The character graphics really sealed it for me. I was like, this is just, like you said, it just looks out of place, just lines upon lines of blocky. It could almost, if I didn't know any better, I would almost say parts of it look like they're in BASIC. It's that kind of C64 representation. It's just very poor. So no, I didn't enjoy when I was the pivots or the henchmen fighting the pivots. I can't remember which one I was now. It didn't have the graphical capability to pull something that this needed to be off. And I think actually they could have done it. Had they just, had Epics had something like this in their hands back in the day, it's doable. We've seen games that, allude to it. We saw that one where all the cavemen were jumping off the rocks and things. And I know it's not the same thing, but I mean, fantasy games, twists of sports, they're doable, but not like this. If they'd have just maybe thought and looked at Speedball and thought maybe if we substitute the characters there for some monsters, maybe that would have been a better take. That would have made more like what they were aiming for, I think, but they didn't did the same. No. 20 quid though as well. Boop, boop.
Yeah, exactly. That's expensive. Very expensive. Not for me, that one. There we go. That's grave yardage. That's a grave error, I think is the...
Yeah.
Yeah, never mind. Anyway, let's move on. We've still got more sports to get through.
We do.
And Graham, it's over to you for this one. We had World Cup Italia 90, the official version. Now we've got Italy 1990.
We do. This is US Gold produced. $12.99 though.
Weird, huh?
66% it got. It was developed by Tiertex, and that's where you begin and end your troubles with this. There was did you know there was an enhanced released version of this game called Italy 1990, the Winners Edition, which featured accurate player names for the teams involved in the 1990 FIFA World Cup. Now, I thought the team people in this were accurate, but maybe they're not. So right at the core of this game is that it's a crapper version of Micro Pro Soccer. I mean, there's no way around that. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And there's some key issues with this. I mean, okay, from the start, the game starts quite lively music. Okay, the presentation's lively enough. You've got the Italy 1990 unofficial logo, I guess, with some sort of scrolly colours. And there's a few options. You can choose to start the World Cup or continue a World Cup. You can have a one-player or two-player friendly. You can set some preferences. I didn't set the preferences, but I imagine it's probably colours and sounds. I don't know.
There's not much. That. It's just load and save, I think.
Yeah, probably. So I thought I'll get into the game because at the end of the day, these games live or die by how you play the football in them, regardless of all the other brouhaha. So you go first off with team selection. I chose World Cup. I thought, let's go for it, World Cup, because based on the World Cup Italia, I thought, is there a World Cup in it? Because that would be, that's going to give it a leg up. So it came up with a big list of teams, and now this looked like a much more convincing list of teams.
It is all like the teams. Yeah, it is.
So from Italy through to USA, and all of the teams are in there. Interestingly, how do you say it? Is it Era?
Era.
They were separate. Because I guess they're called Republic of Ireland now, but on this they're Era. So
yeah.
Anyway, so I chose England, of course. Of course, I'm going to do that. And the graphics at this point, you've got a big long list of teams on the left, and the right, you've got the individual sort of the team stats. So as you highlight them with your joystick, you move the joystick up and down the big list. It gives you the colours, obviously, for the shirts, and it gives you their attributes, and their attributes being their skill, speed, their aggression, and their strength. And they're just arbitrary numbers again, aren't they? So let's assume that low numbers are bad, high numbers are good. So Italy, for example, have a skill of 4 and a speed of 5, an aggression of 4 and a strength of 5, right down the middle of that. Ooh, who knows how good they are. So I chose England anyway. And I, for some reason, didn't actually write down what the England stats were. But anyway, I chose them. Then after that, you get your list of fixtures. So you are actually in the World Cup. That's another strength, isn't it? At least it's in there. So I got all the fixtures. So Italy versus Austria, USA versus Czech. It says Czech something. I can't read it there, but Czech Republic, essentially what it became. And then I was down the bottom there in one of the groups. I guess they are groups at this point. They're more advanced. So you don't play right the way through the early stages, but you're up towards the sort of... You play from the start of the group stage in the World Cup. All right, I thought there was more teams in the groups. I don't know why, but anyway, there's 4 teams in my group.
You have the qualifying round, which goes on for 2 years, and then your final World Cup has everyone in the groups. And
well, in my group, then I had Era, of course, Holland, and Egypt. Okay, so in Egypt, of course, in this particular, famously, they drew with Holland. So anyway, so again, after that, you get to choose. Obviously, you press fire button, moves on, and you'll get told that you're at the Cagliari Stadium, and I was the favourites. They said the favourites are England. I thought, hey, that's good. Then I got to choose my formation from the various different ones: 5-2-3, 3-4-3, 4-4-2, you name it. So you select your formation. There's a little graphic on the right hand side. The selection screens are always the same. Chooser on the left, sort of information panel on the right of varying type. Yeah. So and there's a little graphic of the formations. All right, and then after that, you've got your I think it's your player selection next. So you select your squad, don't you? And so you've got all the proper names. So there was P. Shilton, T. Butcher, Terry Butcher, is that? Mm-hmm. T. Adams. So the full England squad are there, and then you have to pick obviously the goalie, defenders, midfielder, and all of those positions, and you keep doing that until the word continue appears. So you can choose the different ones. All of the players have their own stats, of course, as well, like they did before. So, for example, Peter Shilton has a skill of 3. A speed of 5, his aggression is 3, and his strength is 4. So he's weaker than all the Italians, and by that estimation. So he's not a strong man against the Italians. So anyway, you can pick your squad essentially, which is quite nice. All right, then you'll get to the football game, and you're presented with what is essentially Mega Pro Soccer, really, a little bit of a cheaper version. The grass on the pitch is kind of the same as it was in Mega Pro Soccer. So you've got like a stripy effect with dots on it, which gives it the kind of grass effect. It looks all right. The view is, I think, probably a little bit too zoomed in, which represents problem number 1 with this game. Mm-hmm. And that is that because it's zoomed in a little too close to the players. Now, it's the same overhead view as Micro Pro Soccer. So you've got the ball in the middle. Weirdly, when you start, they don't start side by side. They sort of start in a line, which threw me. I didn't think they did that, but anyway. So obviously it's kickoff. At the bottom of the screen, you've got the current score and the amount of time left in the half, and it's only short, so it's only 2 minutes. So it's not like you're playing 45 minutes, or maybe you can, I don't know. Mm-hmm. And then above that, the main screen is the game. Now, like I said, it's an overhead view of the pitch, and so the camera's going to follow the football around. Problem is, you zoomed in a bit too close. That becomes a problem with this camera in this game, doesn't it? So as you're kicking the ball around, the camera can't keep up with the speed of the ball. So it's just a little bit either too quick or a little bit too slow. But either way, you find yourself kicking the ball into nowhere and then scrambling around to see if you can get it. More often than not, kicking it into the opposing player's feet, who will then run with it, and you can't quite keep up with them. You can't seem to get the ball off them, but you don't have to worry because they're completely hopeless. They never score. They just kicked it in every direction but the goal. And it does have corners, and it does have things like that, and it has all the stuff in it. It's Micro Pro Soccer bar the shouting, but it lacks all the finesse of that, and it lacks the control of that. And there's a few players dotted about, and your player is indicated by, it flashes, but it's actually lost in the melee of action because everything moves around a bit too quick and a bit too juddery, and it's a bit, I don't know how to describe it. It's a bit, because it's zoomed in a little bit too much, you're just too close to everything, which means you don't have the view to be able to see what you need to do with the ball. So, for example, I'm running with the ball and I've got one player at the top of the screen, and that's it. I think, where's the rest of the team? How do I know where they are? If it had a little indication on it, like a little overhead view of where the players were, like a radar, so I knew where I was going. Now, I know the general direction of the goal, the opposing team's goal, but what you really end up doing in this game is just running and charging forward and hoping that you don't get tackled. But you will get tackled because their players seem to have the ability to just run near you and get the ball immediately, even from behind you. And so it feels weirdly unfair. So the problem here is that the game doesn't play very well. It doesn't play a very good game of football. It's almost there. It has the look, it has the sort of selection, and it's not too onerous with the options. It's all about there. But the problem is it just doesn't feel like it's finished at that point. It just got to that point and we're like, release it. So it looks like Micro Pro Soccer, but it isn't Micro Pro Soccer. It doesn't have the finish of a sensible game. The camera is often leaving you kicking the ball to the unknown. Like I said, you don't really know where your players are at any given moment. So you don't know which one is the best option. They all kind of run at the same speed, but your opposing team run quicker than you, it seemed to me. So you can never get away from them. You can zigzag all over the place. The ball sticks at your feet when you're running with it, generally. If you kick it, you've got no idea whether you're kicking it to your players or not. Generally speaking, you'll kick it and it won't be to one of your own players, and they get the ball and then they just run it and do something stupid with it, like kick it off. So the AI is off the charts stupid as well. Because I was playing this and they never scored. Now, I'm not saying I couldn't get near their goal because they just kept getting the ball off me. But when they got it, they would just run down the pitch and then kick it off. So then it was goal kick. I'd kick it back in the middle. It would land at one of their players. Their player would run down the pitch and just kick it off. Or kick it to a throw-in. I would throw it in, kick it back up. Unfortunately, it would go to another one of their players who would run down and kick it off. And it just went on like that. So it just doesn't feel like there's any logic to the team that you're playing or any logic to the camera choice or the way the players are selected. I didn't feel like I had control of who I was selecting. And it didn't feel like if the game was selecting it, it didn't select anybody that was relevant. And it's very hard to distinguish between your players and their players because even though you've got different shirts on, it's not that obvious when the one's flashing and one isn't and the ball's flicking about. So you get quickly lost in the depths of the game. And before you know it, the time's up and nobody's scored because they don't score because they're stupid and you don't score because you can't get the ball to anywhere near it. I got one shot on goal and it missed. And I thought, okay, all right, I don't know. So it doesn't feel like there's any logic here. The graphics are okay, but it's a clear rip-off. There's no mistake in that. You can't really get away with this, I don't think. You wouldn't get away with it now. This is blatantly ripping off somebody else's game. The view is too close. I mean, and at one point I had the goalie at a goal kick and there was 3 players in the box while I was goal kicking and it was all theirs. I'm like, not sure you're allowed to do that. Anyway, so it was just a scramble. Everything in this game felt like an unnecessary scramble. I didn't feel like I was playing football. I felt like I was just kicking the ball around until eventually somebody might stand a chance of getting it. But I didn't really choose that. And the CP, like I said, the CPU team I played was just dumb. There was no logic to them. They weren't scoring goals. They were just being bloody annoying. So I don't know. Would have taken a little bit more time in the oven to make this game quite a polished football game. But at $12.99, why would you buy this? You would just buy Micropro Soccer, even though it's not World Cup related. It's better in every way. So, and probably same price, I think, as well. I think that's why they've pitched it at that price. They're going for the Micropro Soccer because they think it looks like that. So that's why they've done it. Dodgy practice that. So it was nearly there, but it ultimately wasn't a very good football game for me because I didn't enjoy the game of football that I played with it, really. And it didn't feel like all that selection of stats really amounted to anything. But what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's not one of the great football games on the system, that's for sure. It is at least better than the other piece of rubbish.
Yeah, totally better than that. But yeah,
it flatters to deceive a little bit. Some decent presentation to this. All the teams, players. I like the fact you can pick your own, pick your players for it. You load of formations. So as someone who likes football and likes to sort of tinker around with that and play with that, I liked all that bit of I appreciated all that bit of the front end. Of course, all that goes out the window when the actual footballing part of the game is a poor man's Micropro Soccer, and it's never really clear if those formations you put in actually do any good or anything.
No, exactly.
But again, around the edges, there are some nice touches, like the giant scoreboards at the start of the game, and I did manage to score. And you get a nice animated sort of goal. You flicks the scoreboard, you get a goal, sort of comes up and stuff. So there's bits like that. Those kind of like nice touches are there. So I like those parts. The front end, the footballing's not great. I kept trying to curve the ball as well because it looks so much like Micropro Soccer. I was trying to control it, do banana kicks and stuff like that, but it's not in there. It's passable if you pardon the pun. So it's the best game based on the World Cup this week. So if you're going to buy a World Cup game, $12.99 is pricey. There is more. You would be more satisfied if you did buy this. Yeah, if you wanted a World Cup game, if you bought the other one, you'd be like, well, this isn't the World Cup. If you bought this, you're like, well, you know what? The World Cup's here. All the teams are here, and I can play through a tournament and have a bit of a laugh and do that.
You can save as well. You can save it as well.
Yeah, you can save it and load it in and things like that. And the front cover is just about every famous footballer from the World Cup ever. And it looks like I think it's I don't know who the player is sort of thing, but it looks like he's sticking his foot up Maradona's arse for some strange reason. And there's Peter Shilton just diving for no reason in the back. But it is what it is. It's a poor man's Micropro Soccer when it comes down to football. And you're right, it does feel a little bit too zoomed in and a bit too juddery. It doesn't have the smoothness of that game, which is what I said earlier. Why didn't anyone just go up to Sensible and go, can you do as a World Cup version?
Yeah.
The engine's there. It's all written. How long would it have taken them to just put in all the stats and stuff of the players and what have you?
Well, it'd probably taken less time than it would have to try and rip it off.
Yeah, I just don't understand it, and probably less money as well. But it is what it is. But yeah, it's not dreadful. It's got some nice stuff around the edges, and it is a weird version of football. I imagine 2-player would be better, obviously, because then you don't have the stupid AI. But yeah, it's not one of the greats. It's just in comparison to the other one, which won the World Cup. I had more sympathy, maybe because I think if I'd have played this in an off week where it wasn't that one, I'd be like, ugh. But because I played it against the other one, I'm a bit more sympathetic towards it. There you go. But $12.99 is too much. But it's at normal price.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, there you go. That's Italy 1990, otherwise known as world-class soccer as well. There we go. Let's move along. We've still got more sport to get through, Graham. It's just sport heavy this week. Sport heavy. Let's get the next one up. Gotta be quiet with this one. Gotta be quiet.
Oh, quiet.
This is World Championship Boxing Manager.
Is
£9.95, got 33%. So just 1/3.
Yep.
So this is my third type of sports. This is my third. I've three types of sports. Done football, fantasy American football, and now I'm managing a boxer. Okay, who knows? This podcast puts me in loads of roles. World Championship Boxing Manager. So from those people at Goliath Games. They brought you Tracksuit Manager.
Yes, they did.
Which is the best football manager game on the system we probably played.
They did.
So can they do a quick one too? Make the best boxing manager game as well? I was trying to think, is there another boxing manager sim?
Yeah, there is, but I think it's by our arch nemesis.
There's two. They did two. Boxer and Boxing Manager by Cult Games.
Of course they did.
So I'm going to say that this is likely to be better than both of those. I could be wrong. I could be knocked out in the sixth. I don't know. Anyway, upon loading this, you're asked if you want to continue a save game or start a new one. Starting a new one lets you enter your name, and then you can choose to manage up to 5 different boxers. You can give them your own names, and you can then sign a contract with them.
You do.
All very official. That's what this
very
is.
managerial.
All very managerial and official. Yeah. Once that is all done, you get to the game proper. There's no real story here. Not really. The back of the box does ask something. It asks us if we have ever wanted to manage a full animated staff, ever wanted to promote boxers, negotiate contracts, arrange fights with other managers. Thought you'd arrange fights with other boxers, but maybe it's just I don't know. And the boxing controllers. Ever wanted to act as a second using equipment to patch up genuine bruises, cuts, etc.? Ever wanted to arrange round-by-round tactics while both boxers fight using artificial intelligence? Well, Graham, have you? But I've got here, for the sake of this review. So once you have entered the details, we get to the game. We're presented with the front entrance to our boxing world. It's like our office, essentially. And we have 3 doors to choose from, and there's also an exit. So you've got 3 doors. One goes to the office, one is the gym, I think, and one is physio. And you have an arrow that flicks between them. You don't have to move the arrow around; it just flicks, which is nice. Nice UI. I always prefer that in a game where it just flicks around. It reminded me of a lot of this front end. Reminded me of Killed Until Dead.
Yeah. I get that.
Just that same kind of thing. So like I said, we've got office, gym, and physio. There's also an exit option, like I said. Going into the office pretty much is the main part of the game. So we go into our office and there's loads more options here. So it's basically you've got a view of your office like you sat behind your desk. So all this graphicalness. And in the office we can there's a filing cabinet we can click on. There's a desk in front of us, we can click on that. We can click on the telephone on the desk. We can go back out the door into the sort of waiting room. Or there's the calendar, which we can click on. Clicking on the filing cabinet, well, that gives us more options. It lets us see our present fight records, contracts, and rankings for all the boxers that maybe, that are in the. There's two boxing classes. There's FWB, and I think there's another one as well, WCWA or something like that. So there's 2 boxing rankings that we can fight within. There's a lot of detail in this.
There is.
So that we can go through all that. We can see our fight, our boxers that we're managing their fight records once you're into the game a little bit. The desk allows us to see the upcoming fight dates for each week. We can check on a boxer's notes, which gives us their stats, what they're good at, things like that. And the boxer's record, where we can look at not just our own, but other boxers' records as well. So number of fights won and lost, etc., etc., etc. Loads of stats, all the stats. The telephone lets us contact other managers and try and arrange a fight with one of their boxers, which is quite interesting because you have to basically you ring someone up. There's a list of managers, and you can ring one of them up. They've all got different names, and you go, right, I want to fight one of your, I want to arrange a fight with my boxer with one of yours. You want to pick someone who's kind of, you basically start at number 100 in the world, I think it is, what I did.
That's right.
So you want to pick a boxer quite close by. There's no point in going, this isn't Rocky. You're not going to be fighting Apollo Creed. So you've got to pick a boxer that's near to your level.
Yeah.
And so then you've got to kind of offer like, what percentage of the take do you want? And they're dead greedy. When I said 50-50, they went, no chance. Well, how about I take 30? They went, no chance. I went, okay, well, how about 20%? And then he just went, oh, you're just having a laugh, and hung up on me. I was like, oh. Eventually, I managed to arrange a fight with someone. I think I was taking 22% of the cut. I was like, good Lord, greedy kids. So we can do that. The telephone. We can also, through the telephone, we can also contact our scouts, Limpy and Wimpy. I don't know. And you can order them to watch a fight or follow a fighter if they're fighting that week. We can also contact the two boxing boards. So it's the WCIB and the FWB. And essentially, you need to, when you've arranged a fight, you can't just have a fight. It has to be authorized by the boxing corporation, whatever they are. The sort of, what are they called? The bodies, aren't the professional bodies?
Yeah, professional bodies, yeah.
It's the professional bodies, so they have to authorise it. So basically, once you've rung up a manager and gone, right, should we have a fight? Our boxers, should we fight? They go, yeah, okay, we'll sort it out, get it authorised. You have to send it you have to ring up the WCIB or the FWB, depending on where you're in, and go, right, can we have this fight, please? So you have to wait. Yeah. But they might say no. They didn't on me, but I guess they might do. One thing to notice is that each boxer has different ranking with the different boxing boards. So, like I said, you need to pick a box that's comparable in ranking to yours in that specific board, just to stand a chance of getting a fight arranged. The calendar option, you basically just forward time by 1 day. It's just because you want to forward it by a day. Essentially that's it. You ring up a boxer. You ring up a manager, say, can we have a fight? You sort it out for 3 weeks' time, and then you forward the time until that. Yeah. Back outside, you can go into the gym. There's only one option of training, but clicking on that allows us to pick from 5 types of training for each boxer we manage. But they can only do three at any one time. And you can have them do weights, ring work, punch bag, road running, or sparring. There's no detail on what these affect that I could sort of find out. I think it might be in the instructions, but so it's like trying to figure out, you look at your boxer stats and it might be average stamina. So you're thinking, okay, so I'll probably put them on maybe road running because that'll probably beef up the stamina a bit or something like that. You kind of sort of think about that along that. But you can only have 3 of them running. Now what you do, then you can then set them for a number of days you want them to train. So if you set them for 7 days on those 3 things, whatever you picked, then each time you forward a day, that will go down by 1 day. So after they've trained on those for 7 days, you can then set them another training regime and so on and so on. We'll get to the physio room later, although there's not a lot to actually do there. So advance the days. The next day, basically, you get authorized. I got authorization to have the fight if you've arranged one. And then at the end of the week, I think it's on the Friday night, you get the option to watch that week's fights, so all the fights happen on the Friday night, or you just get the results. So I'll talk about what you see in the fight a bit later. It doesn't take too long. So none of this, it's actually quite snappy. It moves quite fast, like we found with Tracksuit Manager. So it's decently programmed in the back end. It's not like the double or anything like that where everything takes forever. This is, it moves along at a fair pace. So once you've done all that, we're back to the gym, more training. You're basically just waiting for the fight to arrive and just do training. And there's not a lot else to do at this point. No. So when the day of the fight arrives, we go to the exit sign, and this takes us ringside. And essentially we have a sort of still image, and we're sat behind 2 commentators. Like, take up the whole screen. It's like drawn in sort of character graphics, but it's 2 commentators and, sort of side on as if they're, looking up at the ring from where they are. Yeah. And for this point, we get to choose our fight tactics. Which we sort of how we want to approach the fight, and we can change this each round, so we can just be natural. I don't know what that means. Just be natural. Just be natural. Hey. We can go for the KO. We can take it easy. We can jab and move. We can fight inside, fight outside. We can go for the body, go for the head, or fight dirty. Just pick one. You can actually select 2 of those. So you can select 2 of those. I managed to pick 2. And then the fight happens. And what happens now is you get a scrolling text display below the graphic of the 2 commentators. So we get things like your boxer throws a left hook, and if it's not blocked, then it doesn't, but it might say blocked. So the opponent, so whatever the opponent's name is, Smith throws a right to the head. It's dodged, and it's that. It does that, and so on. And that's it. That's your that's your fight. You don't see anything. It's just all in text. It's kind of like what we saw in Tracksuit Manager. At the end of the round, we get a close-up of our boxer's face. It's actually quite well drawn in amongst all the pretty naff character graphics. It's kind of weird. And we get some damage on it, which looks like someone smeared makeup on him. He's like got just the bruises and stuff. They're like, oh, that's not good. And so we've then got 30 seconds to apply such things as a sponge for removing blood, adrenaline, which was in the instructions, so I don't know what that was for, water for refreshment, and the cold iron for ironing out bruises and cuts. And each one of you've got 30 seconds, and you have to click. You just select one of this. It goes down a second. So then you have to go back and click it again. It goes down another second. This is quite laborious and stupid as well, because like it would take you 30 seconds to do one of them.
Yeah,
just click on one. That's what you're doing for that 30 seconds. It seems a bit stupid, this system. Once you've done that, or once you click exit, you're back in the ring for round 2. And so on and so on. The fight progresses. It can go all 10 rounds or less if your boxer or the opponent gets knocked out. I won my first fight in round 9 with a total KO. My strategy was simple. I just picked KO every round. Just try and knock him out. There's no subtlety to my management. Just knock him out. And he did. Like, hey, I won. Then you're back in the office. You can check the physio, and you can see where you need work. But you can't fix anything. It just, this stamina is just like now says, oh, he's got a weaker stamina. It's like, oh, okay. I presume we've got to go back into the gym then, and that fixes it. You're a rubbish physio. Rubbish. So you're back to the gym. You arrange more fights, so on. You can start climbing up the ranking leads. You can make more money. That's it. And that is it. That's this game. That's the loop. It's okay, I guess. It's just a bit empty.
Yeah.
The visual representations of the office and the fights, they're a bit limited. I said and I was being kind, it reminded me of Killed Until Dead. But the life in those offices, in that office, we saw little people popping up, things happening, people walking past the windows, and then the actual general graphical niceness of those bits was really good. Here, it's just blocky character graphics. It also reminded me, what was the other one? Yes, Prime Minister.
Yeah.
And if you remember that, it's more in line with that. It's a bit more colourful, but it's still just character graphics, just, made to look like an office. So it's a bit limited. There's ultimately not that much to do. So you just end up setting up some training, arranging a fight, and then counting the days until something happens, which is a bit boring, really.
Yeah.
There's no interaction in the training. So that could have been something they added in to give you more stuff to do. A bit of a, you could see your boxer training each day or check on it and is it working, and seen some sort of graphical representation of that, but there's none of that. The fights are a bit dull. There's no way that I could see to throw in the towel if I wanted to or anything. There's no options in the actual in the middle of the the round itself. You just get the options of style of tactics you get at the end of each round, and that's kind of it. I don't know if it was having any impact. I did notice it when I did switch to KO. It was doing lots and lots of heavy, just going mad heavy punches. Because when I started off with the lighter stuff, it was just jabs and stuff. And then when I did that, so there was a bit going on there, and I did win, so that was cool. On top of this, there's no sound. It's a deathly quiet game. It got 0% for sound in Zap. There's no sound at all. None. No. What an oversight.
Stupid.
The fights are just dull text affairs. There's no sense of atmosphere or anything. How hard would it have been to a ding ding?
Wouldn't have been that difficult, would it? Really?
And then a ding ding at the end of the round, and just in the background, we've said it before. The crowd sound. The C64 does it could do crowd sounds perfectly fine. But there's nothing. Phone ringing could have been brr, brr, something, anything. But it's just not naff all. It's just not a dicky bell. Nothing. Not even sound or anything. So I don't know. There may be a lot going on under the hood here. I mean, it's coded by the people who did Tracksuit Manager. I think there probably is. But the actual playing of this is a dull affair, and you'd have to be seriously into being a boxing manager to get any real enjoyment out of this, because it's just lacking in excitement. But the boxing match should be exciting. I don't know. Some more care and attention to the presentation here. It would be so much better. But as it is, it's another example of a game that fails to hold your attention for very long. I was just bored. Playing it. It was like click, move through the days, click, click, click. The boxing's boring, click. I got to the point where I was just, for the rounds of boxing, I was just sticking Vice on, super speed, whatever it's called, warp speed to get through the boxing rounds. And then I won that. But yeah, so I don't know. Is it the best boxing game? I don't know. Maybe those other ones from Cult Game may beat it, but I doubt it. But it's just dull. It needed atmosphere. It really did. And that's a bit of a shame that those kind of things have been overlooked. But it is what it is. What did you think?
Yeah. I mean, I've not got much more to add. I struggled with it a bit because I get it. Well, these games where you're doing all the managerial stuff, yes, they're a niche thing, and not everyone's going to like them, and I get that. This just felt a little bit it just felt like it limited itself. There's just silly mistakes, not having not having sounds in there, not having more in it that would have made it feel a little bit more boxing world. It's character graphics. Okay, I get why it's doing it that way. But it just feels like it's a bit of a cheap way of doing it.
Yeah.
And so boxing, if you take boxing right down to its statistics, and like you do with football, there are people that would really dig that. I get it. And there is a lot of options here, and you can get quite into stuff. And, I had, ironically, I had Tyson Fury when I was playing it. He didn't do too well, ironically. So I don't know. I thought it's one of those things. I have to be careful because sometimes I feel like I'm judging this one by those crappy ones. This isn't a crappy version of those things. It's just not a very exciting one of those things.
No.
So as a manager sim goes, if you dig manager sims and you don't mind the parameters of a manager sim, this is probably a very competent boxing one. If you can stand that kind of thing. And if you do, you do. I don't know. I just think it's missing the boxing. It felt to me like it's kind of missing that bit. The football one you can get away with because a large percentage of people's lives with those things were those ticker tapes on a Saturday, with the scoreboard going tick, 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 tick.
Yeah.
And it was like, so-and-so, he's 5'4", 4'5". Oh, wow, that's funny. And that kind of thing. When you're watching a boxing game like that, it's just like, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And there are ways they could have conveyed it better, just a bit more commentary, but it just, boxing by text, it didn't work. It just doesn't work for me. So I found myself a little bit lost in the menus a little bit bored quickly, wanting it to do a bit more, tired of character graphics and thinking that maybe 1990 I needed a little bit more than just text and character graphics to really pull this off. I needed a bit more and it wasn't going to be there. And it felt quite expensive at 10 quid as well. By now, probably Football Manager, their version probably is maybe still a bit cheaper. I don't know. They always seem to keep the prices, don't they? I don't know. Anyway, my take on it was fairly simple. It wasn't for me. Maybe it's for someone, but 33%, I don't think anyone's going to buy it based off the review. So there you go.
No, probably not. There we go. That's World Boxing Championship. Hang on a minute. Did I get the review? I might have got the score wrong, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah, it did. It's actually 52%. The Amiga one got 33.
Oh, well, I can imagine why it would on the Amiga. So.
Yeah, it's 52%, sorry. Paul.
Yeah, but even that. I could see that, actually. Half the people who buy it might enjoy it.
Yeah. There we go. So that's World Championship Boxing Manager.
Boxing Manager, yep.
There's that one. Right. Good Lord. Sporty. We're not sporty for next one. We've still got one more game. Let's get to it quickly. Graham, it's over to you to take us to Blinky's Scary School.
Good old Blinky. All right, Blinky. Blinky's Scary School was £2.99, so budget. It was 72%, okay? It was published by Zeppelin. They do good budget when they do good budget, or have done. Design is David Taylor. He designed the Neighbours game, which is yet to come. And somebody called Rick, who designed a game called Rick the Roadie, which was never reviewed in Zap, so at some point one day maybe we'll look at it. Anyway, the code here is Ian Copeland. He did World Soccer. Do you remember World Soccer? He did that.
Yeah.
And we joke about Ian Copeland, don't we?
Yes.
No relation to Stuart.
No.
Graphics are by Richard Beston. He did Ninja Commando, and you can tell that he did because he's a very good pix painter. And the title screen is Richard Beston. Music is Adam Gilmour. Okay, so that's a good little pedigree of people for Zeppelin. They've made good stuff before.
Yeah.
And what you end up here is actually a nice-looking arcade adventure. Now, the story is, this was released on multi-formats, Amiga and so on, and C64 as well. And the story here, I had to divert to the Amiga manual, but it's the same story. And it says, the long faces on the portraits looked down disapprovingly at the old man as he climbed into bed. His tame pet Haggis was already contently asleep at the foot of the bed, dreaming of faraway Scottish glens. Laird Hamish McTavish plumped his pillow, blew out his candle, and fell into a deep sleep. Got a thing about Scottish castles, aren't there? Outside, the walls glistened with lightning as a storm settled down for the night over Drumtochie Castle. Was that the game? The castle was in the first, some other game by them? I've got a feeling it was.
Quite possibly.
I'm sure we've come across that castle before in a game. A barn owl hooted miserably. Can you hoot miserably? So we could ask any one of the hooters.
This just sounds like Rolling Stones song.
Somewhere in the distance, a click struck 12 o'clock. I think that's meant to be.
Click.
I don't think the person who wrote these instructions was properly paying attention. Throughout the castle came the sound of ancient clicking into operation. Okay. This was the ghost expelling machinery invented by the late Red Lair McTavish. He was more than such peeved, having become a ghost himself, to find himself kicked out of his own home by the machinery invented. It was this machinery that ensured that McTavish clan had a long and happy night's sleep. Is this not similar to that ghost game that we played? It was in a castle. I'm sure it all sounds familiar.
It all sounds familiar.
Anyway, well, until tonight, that is. It's not easy being a ghost. The hours are long, the place of work cold and dark, and the promotion prospects, in all honesty, are fairly limited. However, a major problem for a prospective ghost is training. Although the qualifications to become a ghost are fairly simple, being dead is usually the only requirement, the actual haunting part is a lot more tricky than most people realise. Just like Beetlejuice. So the famous school for spectres and spooks was set up to educate and inform prospective ghosts in the ways of haunting. At the end of the school year, the star pupils are sent to haunt more exclusive night spots. And so it was Blinky, the school star pupil, who arrived at Drumtucky Castle ready to put in a solid night's haunting, totally unaware of the deadly machinery ticking quietly in the bowels of the castle. Let the fun begin. Okay. Right. So Blinky then. Nice looking, like I said, arcade adventure. Very dizzy, this. Very dizzy. This could be a dizzy game. Took the ghost out, put an egg, you'd have dizzy. You'd have a dizzy game right off the bat. But it does have some nice production to this for a budget game. A nice jaunty start with some well-realised graphics on the title screen and some decent music too. Adam Gilmore, once again, turning it in here. Enter the game and you're inside the castle. And I have to say, the graphics here are really nice. Not far off Cauldron 2 quality, actually.
Yeah, they are good.
Blinky is a ghost with large feet poking out from under his sheet. It's a sheet with a smile. And you must find the various objects dotted around the small levels and gather them into a cauldron. The way to these objects is blocked by enemies of various types. And the game is a flick screen style, so you either walk or jump up or down to different rooms of the castle, depending on how you do it. Okay. So you explore, find, and seek. Though the main bulk of this is medium res, there is very clever use of colour, which makes the game look really bright and interesting. And the UI is more of a high-res section at the bottom of the screen showing the current phase of the moon and the objects you've picked up. Your energy level, of course, and your lives. It's neat, though. Fits into the overall look of things. Even though it's kind of high-res, it kind of works at the bottom there. It's not obtrusive, and the main bulk of the game is taken up with the actual level graphics, which, as I've said, very colourful, very nice. You control Blinky with the joystick. Left and right will walk. Diagonals will jump in that direction. Fire button will pick up or perform an action on various objects around the castle, which are in high-res, to give you a better indication that they are something you need to check on, which is a nice little touch. So it's quite easy to see the things in the game, because sometimes we've said in these games that the icons and things you pick up are kind of splodges, and you think, what is that? Quite clear what they are here. There's no in-game music, which I think is a bit of an error for a game of this type. And the sound effects are a bit sparse, which kind of kills the atmosphere a little bit in a game that's principally in a haunted castle. All it would have taken is ooh kind of sounds, and you'd done it. Even although Cauldron 2 was empty of sound in the game, sound of music in the game, it had lots of sound effects, which kind of filled the gap. This one is a little bit absent of that. So it's just a bit sparse, and it does it does impact the atmosphere. Because it would have sort of pitched in with the graphics and everything else. So, like I said, no in-game music. I think it's an error. The sound effects sparse, but graphics kind of make up for it. Maybe controlling Blinky is okay, but jumping at angles means you have to take a step back normally and kind of launch across things. This means you get caught up on scenery a lot and miss jumps a lot, which is an unnecessary annoyance in something like this. It's annoying that that's an error that's in this, because it does affect how you play it. So if you need to go up like steps of a platform, you can't just sort of go to them and just jump up. You have to sort of go back and then jump over and jump back, and you have to do that on everything. So if you're trying to jump across from platform to platform, it actually makes it quite difficult to do, because you can often become a cropper because of the way that logic works. But other than those things, I suppose, it's a tried and tested game type, isn't it? Walk and seek game, albeit quite a basic one. The enemies can often drain your energy quite quickly, so you need to be mindful of that. And sometimes you can appear on the screen right on top of an enemy when you spawn into a screen, which is kind of annoying. You've got a few lives, I think 9 lives, but you can soon get eaten up with a couple of enemies who can just burn through your lives and things very quickly. And a significant portion of the enemies are kind of just blocking your way via some kind of timing setup. So they'll be going up and down in front of a platform you need to get to, or left and right blocking an obvious jump gap that you've got to get through. And the timing then becomes kind of critical for things like that. Or they're patrolling left and right, that kind of thing. Not dissimilar to the way Cauldron 2 worked in that way, actually. That was the same sort of idea. Albeit that you don't have to bounce around, thank God. You can only jump and avoid them, though. So chances are your energy is always going to get depleted in this. So slowly but surely you will get gradually chipped away at your energy till eventually your energy bar is going to be 0, and then you lose a life, of course.
I thought you only had 1 life, didn't you?
It says 9 on the screen at the bottom.
Is it? Oh, okay.
That's 9 energies. I don't know, but anyway, it's what it is. So the obvious strength, I suppose, here is the graphics right off the bat, because they're really good. They're really good in this game. Blinky is quite a cute enough character. The other enemies are varied, not constantly attacking you, which is a relief. You make your way around the castle. It's okay. Jumping is the frustration point, I suppose, and the collection of things and taking them back to the cauldron. It's a tried and tested trope that pick up the thing to take it back to the thing to do the thing. You know, there's loads of games that have been that exact. In fact, principally the Trapdoor game made an entire game out of that logic, right?
Yep.
And again, like I said, if Blinky was an egg, this would be a Dizzy game. It's very much like a lot of the Dizzy games, very much. All that said, it is hampered by its lack of music, I think, as it leaves it a bit void of its atmosphere, which is a bit daft in a game like this.
Yeah.
Blinky is cute, I guess, but it doesn't have the character needed to push this game in that direction. It's not cute enough. It's not character enough. It needed, if it had sounds that made that character doodle-doo, doodle-doo when he jumps, even though they might be annoying, it would have just filled the game with, or he could have made statements about things and, or just pulled faces or anything that would have given him a little bit more character. But it doesn't really have that. And then you've got that quirky thing about pushing it in the right direction, which can get annoying. I had a feeling when I played this, it started out as a different game and then it had become Blinky at a certain point. They'd sort of taken a game they had and made it into Blinky. And because it just felt like this probably had a better main sprite at some point. Maybe it was a Dizzy game or something like that. But it probably had a different tone about it, and then they've changed it into this, or at least that's what it may be. I don't know that for sure, but it feels a bit like that. So it's all pretty, it's quite small as a game too. It's not a huge map to this. It's one of the big complaints in Lemon when you see the reviews in Lemon and places. They say it's a great looking game, but there's not much of it. And I think the first item you got to collect 6 or 7 items. I don't think there's much more to it than that once you've got them.
Right.
So it's quite a short game and not a big map to explore. Although I thought it actually felt pretty big, but there you go. So I don't think it would take a seasoned gamer of these kind of games, of which there's been so many of now, that seasoned gamers of this type, mappers and the mappers delighters that have been out there for a long time. This is going to be a walk in the park for somebody like that, because it's no Spellbound. The difficulty isn't really there other than a few little tropes of difficulty. But wandering around, you're not being bombarded with things attacking you. So without that, thankfully, it's not got that. But without some of that, you're just kind of walking through the levels a bit. So I don't think it would take a seasoned gamer very long, but it is only coming in at £3, isn't it? Mm-hmm. There are walkthroughs through it as well, which I thought looked pretty extensive. I thought maybe there's more to it than that. But I think what the crux of what the feedback is that the map isn't very big and there's quite a lot to do in the same map. So there's not a lot to explore in the castle, but you just got to go. There's lots of backwards and forwards stuff in the same stuff. Yeah. But I don't know that for sure. I didn't play it that much. I played it enough to pick up a few objects, make my way through the game a little bit. There's things you can go through. This sort of you're jumping up and jumping through things, and I felt there was some stuff to explore. I don't generally do well with these games, I'll be honest. I do like them, and I kind of it's a love-hate relationship. I like them when they're done really well, and this one is really nice to look at, so I did stick with it a bit. But I find over time, I get a little bit bored of wandering around, looking for things, picking things up. That's just me, though. But this was only £3, and we've played a lot worse for much more money, even in this episode. So I think you're getting quite a nice looking game and good value for money for £3 here. It might not necessarily have everything perfect, but it's a perfect budget game, isn't it? It got 72%. I don't know if that's being a little bit harsh on it. I don't know, maybe giving it in the 80s, because the graphics and sound are pretty good for what they are. But I don't know. Other than that, we've kind of been down this road before, haven't we? It's not a terrible one of them, all said and done. What about you? Yeah,
pretty much the same. I mean, the thing I noted is why is it taking games like... Well, we see this in a lot of budget games, don't we? They show the full price games up for presentation. Like the front screen to this is really good. And it reminded me of the Eyes Have It.
Yeah.
The demo we did. Because it had all the little eyes popping up, didn't it, around the corner, and sort of spooky stuff and bats and things, just lots of little things going on. It's a really nice front end to this. And as you said, a really nice Adam Gilmour sort of spooky tune, well, for the first half anyway, before it sort of changes a bit. But yeah, this makes a really good first impression. And why don't all games have this level of polish? It's not, if the budget coders can do it, I don't know. I did have I played it for a little bit. I corrected the scroll in the game. It gave me a thing. It hard crashed me to a black screen. I don't know whether that was the game.
It did that for me. I downloaded a different version from CSDB because it did that to me as well. Right. And I found that it didn't do it on the other one I played, but that one also had some odd quirks here and there. So maybe it's a bit buggy. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe there is little bit of buggy with this, bit bugginess for this one. I'm not quite sure. I tried it again. I've played around, but it is exactly what you said. It's an okay flick screen budget adventure with very nice visuals and interstitial music. One Blinky, by the way, isn't he one of the Pac-Man ghosts? Inky, Pinky,
Yes,
Blinky, and Clyde.
Yes, I think you're right. I think it is.
So is this the Pac-Man ghost? Is this his?
Yeah, I think it might be.
Maybe it might be.
Might be.
It looks great. It's got some nice music in the front end, and a little sort of interstitial music when you start and end. But shame there's no music in. I think it needed music in game. It needed just a tune playing something or other, just to sort of keep things sort of up a little bit more upbeat. But if you like these kind of arcade adventures, we've said it before. I guess it seems like a decent one. If it don't crash on you, presentation certainly makes it more enjoyable than it would otherwise have been, because it does look nice and the visuals are good. I didn't, like you said, there's a problem with the jumping, that when you sort of jump and then you hit something and you just drop straight down. And the jumping just wasn't quite right. There's something up with the jumping that just rubbed me the wrong way a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's fine. It is what it is. It's one of those games for £3 though. It looks nice. It plays fine. I think if you'd have got this back then and you were into these, you would have been perfectly happy just mooching around these spooky halls. But it's fine. It's probably one of the better ones we played this week. And I think probably maybe even the best one. I don't know. But there you go. That's it.
Yeah.
Blinky's Scary School. So it's all right. It's okay. I think 70%, maybe a little bit half. The weird thing is, the Zapped review said that the graphics are a bit Spectrum-y. No,
I wouldn't say they were Spectrum-y. I thought they were very C64, good quality.
Yeah, I thought they were. Nice use of medium res shading and everything like that. Some good stuff. But there you go. So that's it. There you go. That's 7 games, your first half of games from July 1990. We have looked at today. What have we looked at? Well, we looked at Blood Money, which was a bit on the dull side. I'd rather play Mr. Helly, I think. World Cup Italia 90, which was a blatant rip-off. KGB Superspy, which is just weird from all angles. Then we went to Fancy American Football with Yardage, which was too much loading, not enough payoff, and looked like a game 6 years old. Italy 1990 was better of the 2 football games this week, but still not brilliant. World Championship Boxing Manager, a quiet boxing game, a quiet affair. And finally, Blinky's Scary School, which probably by default is probably the best of the week. Not saying a lot, but there you go. That's it. Next week, we sort of round off July. We've got another 7 games. Next week, Graham, we have Die Hard.
Okay. Curious.
Defenders of the Earth.
Defenders of the Earth.
And Dynasty Wars. I actually made it a triple D for the start of next week's triple D.
Triple D.
Die Hard, Defenders of the Earth, and Dynasty Wars. Then we've got Ollie and Lissa 3. I don't actually think Ollie and Lissa 2 ever got. Did ever get us? I don't think we got Ollie and Lissa 2. No,
don't remember. I think we mentioned that when we talked about them before. I seem to remember. Well, we'll look into it.
We'll look into it. Super Tank Simulator.
Super Tank.
F-16 Combat Pilot. Is it? I don't know. I've written Simulator. It's Pilot.
Something like that.
And finally, Wizard Willy.
Shouldn't laugh. Why am I laughing? It's so stupid.
He's such a child. That's what we've got coming up next week, and obviously charts and things like that. So, well, there you go. That's the first half. It's not been very sporty, but all the sports are out of the way now. It's a bit more
very
less
sporty.
So it's a sporty time of the year. The Euros are going on, so we had to cover the football and stuff. It is what it is. You got anything you want to add, Graham, here at the end? Should we just do our usual stuff?
No, we'll do the usual stuff. I think I've got nothing to add. Like I said, it's just annoys me when I see a game like Blinky. I know it wasn't perfect, but the graphics are great on that. And I look at that and think, why aren't all the games now at that standard at the end of towards the end of the C64? Why aren't they all doing it? Because they can.
Yeah, they can.
So the machine can do it. The coders can do it. Why aren't they doing it?
Don't know. If you want to support the podcast as we travail towards the end of the C64's life, you can do that by going to our Patreon, which is patreon.com/Zapped to the Past. It's what about price of a pint of beer or something, probably less than that these days. get access to our Discord, get the episodes early and ad-free, get to ask us questions, get to join in on our special episodes and all things like that. And just generally come and have a good time with us, which is what we like. You could do that. You can buy us a Ko-fi at kofi.com/Zapped to the Past. Rate and review us if you can't do any of that. As it says in the outro, it helps something, but the algorithm picks it up. And so if you can leave us a review somewhere, that's great. It's always nice to get those things. Shout out to Steve Erickson on Retro Asylum, who gave us a mention the other week. He did. So thank you very much for that. It's always nice to get mentioned.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, Steve, but Action Biker is not the prototype Grand Theft Auto. We proved it in tests. It's New York City.
Yeah.
But just to let you know. So thanks for that. And anything else, if you just give us a shout out. It's really nice. If anyone wants to, you don't have to, but it's really nice when he does. I think that's about it. It feels like a long episode.
So it's been a bit of a long one.
It is 7 games to get through. It always is. So on that, I think we'll say goodbye. So as ever, I have been Adrian Mills.
And I have been Graham Raddings.
And you have been listening to Moist Sax. And we will see you again next week. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, films and TV from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zap 64 magazine published at that time. We will return with a whole new batch of games and stuff to talk about next week. Until then, if you want to listen to or download previous episodes of Zapped to the Past, and why wouldn't you, they can all be found on our website at zappedtothepast.com, as well as being available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Audible, Player FM, and, well, pretty much anywhere where we can upload them. By the way, we do always love to hear from our amazing listeners, so if you'd like to contact us about anything in the podcast or beyond, you can do so by emailing us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com. We're also active on Twitter under @ZapTother, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and most social media platforms. Just search for Zapped to the Past and you'll find us. Oh, and if you like the podcast and what we're doing, please do like, share, review, rate us. It really helps. Something, apparently. The Zapped to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings and recorded at Flakybits 2.0 Studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zap 64 magazine, the Zapped to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe, see you next time, and remember, we play these games so you don't have to.